And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Benjamin versus Love. Step forward, please.
Child care provider Judy Benjamin and her husband, police officer Michael Benjamin, are suing Judy's aunt, child care provider Elsie Love, for the return of their dog, Fluffy. Elsie says Fluffy is hers.
Mrs. Benjamin, is this your aunt?
Yes.
And you're her husband?
Yes.
According to what I've read, it is your claim that you loaned this dog to your aunt. Now you want the dog back. She says you can't have the dog back because this was not a loan. You gave her the dog. And this is all about another issue that is probably much more important, which has to do with the custody of your daughter, who was, for most of her life, raised by your aunt. And you just regained custody of her, is that right?
No, that's not right, Your Honor.
Well, let me get to this part of it's not really a defense, but it's sort of a motive. You were on good relations with your aunt?
Yes, for the most part, yes.
Good. And how many children do you have?
5.
Which child lived with you for 6 years?
The third.
What's the child's name?
Maisha.
How old is Maisha?
Maisha's 10 now.
How old was she when she came to you?
4 months old.
And how long did she stay with you?
8 years.
Was she placed with you by the courts?
She was given to me through her mother.
How come?
Her mother had a drug problem.
So Mrs. Benjamin gave you Maisha. Courts had nothing to do with it?
The courts had nothing to do with it.
Where were her other 4 children?
She only had 3 then. The 2 oldest children were with her aunt, and Maisha was with me.
So far, is that right?
For the most part.
Good. And when was Maisha returned to her mother?
In 2001.
Was that voluntary on your part, or did a court order that return?
The court ordered it with stipulations.
And the stipulation was involving visitation, is that right?
Yes.
Do you currently have visitation with Maisha?
I have visitation with Maisha on the weekends that I have her. I have visitations from after school until 8 o'clock on Sunday night.
So you have her for weekends, certain weekends?
Yeah, every other weekend.
Now I want you to tell me about the dog. You're up.
First of all...
Not you. Her.
Okay, I asked my aunt. I had a breakout at my daycare center. I'm a family daycare provider. And
since when have you been a family daycare provider?
Since '96.
In what state?
New Jersey.
When did you complete a drug program?
I didn't complete a drug program. I didn't have to. I got clean on my own.
Well, then why did you leave your child with your aunt for 8 years?
Can I address the things that she said?
Well, your child was with your aunt for 8 years. That's true.
My child was with my aunt. I asked my aunt to care for her because I knew that I couldn't at the time. I did not abandon my child.
I didn't ask you
I did
any of
not
that.
give my child away.
Listen to what I'm saying to you. You had a drug problem. So if you didn't go into a program, when did you stop using drugs? In what year?
I stopped using drugs in '95.
And your child remained with your aunt until 2001. Is that right?
That's right.
And what about your other 2 children? How long did they stay with their other aunt?
Until '96.
And is Mr. Benjamin the father of all 3 of these children?
No.
Is he the father of any of them?
The last 2.
And you were granted a license to take care of children a year after you got clean from drugs?
Yes.
Okay. Let's get back to the dog.
Your Honor, can I...
Let's get back to the dog. When did you give your aunt the dog?
I didn't give my aunt the dog. I asked her to care for the dog in November until we moved.
Okay. And at what stage were the court proceedings in November of 2002 involving your aunt's visitation with Maisha? Were there court proceedings pending?
No, there wasn't.
Were there court proceedings after November of 2002 involving your aunt and visitation?
Yes, in January.
January what?
31st.
So I assume that you were contesting your aunt having extensive visitation with Maisha.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
When did you ask for the dog back?
My husband asked for the dog back.
Tell me when you did that, sir.
January 31st.
When you were in court?
No.
When you were outside of court?
Yes.
So you came outside of court after the case was adjourned, and you had this court proceeding that said that this was not going to be easy. And you found her in her car?
No.
Where did you find her?
I didn't find her at all. When I left out of the court, we seen her friend in the vehicle.
And?
So I stated to him that I will be coming over to get Fluffy later on. Now, can I say this? Me and this gentleman has made communication in reference to Fluffy on several occasions. He is aware that I did state to him that at any given time, when my two daughters, whom I bought the dog for, would continue to pester me about they wanted their dog home, that I would be coming to pick up the dog, and he agreed. And the reason why...
Get your kids another dog.
Your Honor.
Get your kids another dog. You walk out of court in a court proceeding where you are clearly losing. You're clearly losing because the judge is going to adjourn the case until February. And you don't want Maisha to have to be bothered with visitation with the person who raised her.
Not true. That's
From the
not
time
true.
she's 4 months old, quiet, until she's 8. And now there's a visitation proceeding pending. And Mr. Wonderful over here at that time says, we're coming over to get our dog. You gave her the dog in November. November comes and goes, no word. December comes and goes, no word. January comes and goes. That's according to Mr. Benjamin, who is the owner of the dog.
Well, first of all, I didn't finish saying.
I'm speaking.
I need to be able to say something else, though.
I'm going to let you speak.
Okay.
So 3 months go by, January 31st, at a time when you're coming out of court and you're losing. Then you say to him, and I'm coming over to get my Fluffy. That's what you said.
Yes, I did.
Good. Now I'm going to hear everything that you have to say.
Okay, when Fluffy was given to her aunt by my wife, I really wasn't in agreement with that. I did voice my concern because I did call over to her aunts. I did voice to her how I felt about Fluffy, how my two daughters felt about Fluffy, and that really we weren't happy that Fluffy was with her. But at the same time, you know, if we could just come and visit Fluffy when we wanted to, and if she can bring Fluffy when she picks up Maisha so that he would continue to see us, then I was fine with that. And she agreed. And so therefore, actually, the dog was only brought to my home on one occasion by her boyfriend.
Are we finished now?
No, I'm not. And so actually, he never brought the dog again, so I made several phone calls and talked to the dog on the phone. And that was my only communication with the dog.
Did the dog answer you when they talked to
Well,
the dog?
basically, I asked for a response from Maisha, who was there, and she said that he did the normal. He would wag his tail, and in other words, he noticed, he identified my voice.
Perfect.
Your Honor.
Yeah. Now, just a second. I want to be, you know, my middle name is Fair.
Sure.
So I want to be totally fair. Are you finished?
Am I finished?
Yes.
Well, not really.
Listen, Mr. Benjamin, I want you to be finished, sir, before I let Mrs. Benjamin speak.
Well, one of the things I want to say is the aunt had been communicating through my wife, and I had been communicating through her boyfriend. For some reason, the aunt never communicated with me, and probably that's because she knows that she can't say anything to me, and I'm just going to say yes or whatever. But it's going to be a fully understood discussion about whatever the situation is so that we both can be on the same page, and that never happened.
Are we finished now?
Okay, yeah, I'm finished from that point on, yes.
Mark that down. He's finished.
So noted.
Mrs. Benjamin, I'm ready to hear you.
Yes, Your Honor. When I asked my aunt to care for my daughter, I got off of drugs a year after that. It took me an additional year to find housing. When I found housing in 1995, I began asking her to let my daughter come home. She told me no. She needed more time. She was attached. Please don't do this. This is going to kill me. That went on for 4 years. Out of sympathy for her feelings, my daughter stayed there. Any family member?
What, Miss Benjamin?
Miss
Benjamin, you're getting yourself in a very bad spot right now.
I never wanted to go to court.
I wanted to explain something. You're getting yourself into a very bad spot with me and with everybody else who has ever had a child out there. Because if what you said was you let your child live with your aunt because you felt sorry for your aunt.
That's not what I'm saying.
Then you know how to find the courthouse. If what you're telling me is that you were clean within a year and you let your child stay there because you didn't know what else to do, I don't buy it.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Let's get to the dog.
Okay.
All right, because there is no excuse. If what you're telling me is you were
My
clean,
daughter could have been home. She didn't want to give her back.
Then you got to.
She never wanted to give her
Miss
back.
Benjamin,
That's why we went to court.
Mrs.
She
Benjamin,
doesn't want to give
are
the
you
dog
listening
back.
to me? My mouth is moving.
Okay.
My mouth is moving. If you're a mother, and you wake up in the morning and you go into the child's bedroom and the child isn't there.
You know,
you listen to me carefully. Then you walk inside to the courthouse and you say, I want my child back.
You know what?
Let's
God
get to the dog.
knows.
Let's
Just
get
listen.
to the dog.
God knows, God knows, God knows, God knows, God
Let's
knows.
get to the
He's
dog.
the ultimate judge.
Let's get to the
He's
dog.
the ultimate judge. I didn't even want to come here.
Good.
I didn't even want to come
Good.
here.
Perfect. Case is dismissed. Thank you very much.
Yeah, this is case number 171 on the calendar in the matter of Brew versus Silverberg. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Young men, have seats, please.
Mrs. Brew, according to what I read here, it is your claim that Miss Silverberg's son, one of her sons, would that be you? How'd I know that? One of Miss Silverberg's sons has been harassing your son and damaged his bike.
Correct.
And after he damaged the bike, he said to him, "Give me the brakes off of your bike, because I need them for my bike."
That was another son.
Which son did that?
Brian, the middle
Which
son.
one's Brian? That's you. So after the big one,
The little one, Mark, did the actual damage of the bike.
what did this one do?
He damaged a first bike.
And then the little one damaged the second bike?
Yes, that we bought to replace the first one.
And this one came and took the brakes.
Yes.
Stand up here, all three of you. All three of you, come on. What's your name?
Tom,
How old are you, Tom?
13.
You pick on him?
Yes.
Why?
Because I really don't like him.
You didn't like him, why?
Because he acted kind of weird and,
So he's weird.
yeah.
Tell me, did he ever do anything weird to you, Tom? Or he
Sir.
just acts weird?
Yeah, he acts really weird.
Give me an example of how he acts weird, Tom.
He keeps saying stuff about abducting little kids, like my brother right here.
Like, what did
And
he say?
He says, "I'm going to abduct your little brother," and then he starts taunting me, so I chase him
Tell
away.
me how he's taunting you.
He starts, like, riding off toward the direction where he was last seen playing or something like that on his bike.
Now, what did you do to his bicycle? Look at me. What did you do to his bicycle? The first one that he had.
That was not me. That was a kid named Brandon.
But you were there.
Yeah.
So you must have seen it.
Yeah.
Well, tell me what this kid did to the bicycle.
Well, it really all started out that we were all playing a game called Bumper Cars on Bikes, where you just run around running into each other with bikes. And in the end, it ended up that the tire couldn't really move very well. So
Whose tire?
the tire on the bike that Brandon was riding, that was his bike. Or supposedly
Why
his
was
bike.
why was Brandon riding his bike?
Because Devin said he could have it.
Is that right?
No.
Did they just take it from you?
I let
Stand up. Go ahead.
I let Brandon borrow it so he could go get water at Dairy Queen. And then when I was coming over to see what they were doing, Brandon was jumping on it, and I said, "Get off the bike," and they all ran away. And then his brother came over, and we looked at the bike, and they took off the front wheel.
Who took off the front wheel?
Brandon did. And first thing they did to the bike, they picked it up by the chain and swung it around. And then they...
Who did that?
Brandon did.
So Brandon did. I don't hear he doing anything. Shh, look at me. Miss Brew, don't speak to him. I'm speaking to him. So far, I didn't hear that he did anything.
Right. He didn't do anything.
He didn't.
No. Brandon was the one who really did it. I saw Brandon with
Okay.
my own eyes.
Now, what happened with the second bike?
I was riding my bike, and then I stopped to talk to my friend Lewis, and then Mark came riding up on Brian's bike, and he kept ramming it into the frame.
Mark.
Yeah.
Raise your hand, Mark. How old are you, Mark?
7.
Why were you ramming into his bicycle, Mark?
I wasn't.
Who was?
Nobody.
Nobody. You never rammed into his bicycle.
No.
He says he didn't.
He did, because I saw, and he, kept riding up really fast, and then he kept, hitting the frame, and I told him to stop a couple times, and he wouldn't.
And then what happened?
And then it got bent, it pushed in, and Lewis said he could fix it, but I told my mom, and she said no.
And then what happened with the brakes?
Well, Brian came over.
Who's
and,
Brian? When?
2 days or 3 days after it happened, and then he said, "I wanted to know if I could look at your brakes and see what happened." And I told him that his brother rammed into my frame and bent it, and he said, "Can I have your brakes?" And I said no, and I said no again after he said the same question. And he used a tool, and then he got off the brakes, and then...
Why'd you push him away? You're bigger than he is.
I tried. I said no to him 5 times.
I don't believe you. He had to get off his bike, get the tools, work on the brakes, take the brakes off, and during that time you go into your mother and you say, "Somebody's stealing the brakes off my bike."
My mom was at work that day.
Who was home?
No one was.
My sister is next door.
Yeah.
So why didn't you go next door?
Well, she wasn't home when I was going over to tell her.
What happened with the brakes? Look at me.
I came over to his house. Something was wrong with his bike. He asked me if I would work on it.
I messed around with it a little bit, adjusting the wheel back and forth. And I go, oh, I found the problem. Your brakes are rubbing, so your bike slows down every time the wheel or the rim bends. And he goes, oh, and I go, can I have your brakes? And
Why would you want his brakes?
Because the bike that I had at that time needed the same type of brakes that he had.
Well, why would you ask him for his brakes if all his brakes had to do was be fixed?
It wasn't the brakes, it was the back rim.
Did he tell you how the rim got bent?
Yes.
What did he say?
He said that Mark ran into it multiple times with my bike.
Right.
So I said...
Did you believe him when he said that to you?
Sort of yes and sort of no.
What does that mean, sort of yes and sort of no?
Because sometimes he lies about what my little brother does, and sometimes he tells the truth.
So you wanted the brakes, and you just said, so give me the brakes. They don't work on your bike, give them to me.
No, I said, could I please have your brakes? He didn't answer me the first time. I said it the second time, he didn't answer. The third time, he says, okay. So I took him off his bike and put him on mine. I rode around in the alley for a couple of minutes, and I go, I'm gonna go to my friend's house. He goes, okay. And I just rode over to my friend's house, and then I came back like 5 or 6 hours later, and I found out from my mom that he said that I had walked into his backyard and stolen the brakes.
You did?
No.
Yeah, you did.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Do you ever hear your older brother talk about him?
Yeah.
What does he say about him?
He says that he's a butthole, a crackhead, a D-head.
You see where it's all coming from?
And later today,
where did you steal this car?
Connecticut.
And where do you live?
Massachusetts.
Didn't they have cars in Massachusetts, Daniel?
Yeah.
Now, I say that because your bail was higher.
Correct.
So in the future, you understand where you have to do business.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Diana Brew claims neighbor Kathleen Silverberg's sons terrorize her boy. She is suing for the cost of her son's damaged bike.
You and your brothers, for some reason, are torturing this young man. I don't know why. Because I don't believe you. Do you understand, young man? I don't believe that you didn't hit his bike. I believe you did that. And I believe you're fibbing to me. Do we understand each other? And just because your brother over here can be a bully doesn't mean that you can be a bully. Do you understand? Now, if he asked you to come by and fix his bike, what kind of nice person goes over and says, well, I can't fix your bike, but I need brakes just like yours. Can I have them? As long as my brother bent your bike out of shape, give me the brakes. I need them for me. You better have a talk with your boys.
I have been.
Well, you're evidently not getting through to them.
But Devin even admitted in front of another adult to me that he lied to his mother about the brakes, that he had given them to Brian.
Your sons are torturing him. Do you understand it?
Yes, and he tortures my sons.
See how many there are there?
Yes.
You see, over here?
Yes.
This one doesn't like him because he's weird. Your two younger sons take their cue from Tom. What?
Oh, would you like anyone very much if they said they were going to go and abduct your little brother?
I wouldn't hurt their bicycle. I would stay away from them. And I would say to them, I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore.
I tried to.
No, you don't. He didn't. He went over to take his brakes off the bike that your little brother had destroyed. And why do you think that they have license to do that, the two little ones? They take their clue from you. Because if somebody isn't being normal, then you stay away from them. You don't take their property. You don't damage their property. You understand? Do you ever hear your older brother talk about him?
Yeah.
What does he say about him?
He says that he's a crackhead, a D-head.
So he says a lot of not nice things about him. You see where it's all coming from?
Yes, but I'm also aware of the fact that he goes around and calls my kids the same name.
In retaliation.
Not when he takes a 7-year-old's bike and hangs it on a 6-foot security fence where the 7-year-old cannot get it. And that's all because he was mad because Brian was not home that day.
Was the bike damaged?
Yeah, the chain broke.
Was it fixed?
Yes, we have...
Where are the brakes for his bicycle?
Brian gave them back to Devin.
Do you have them back?
Torn apart and damaged.
What?
They were not torn apart when Brian took them off the bike. I know because I saw him do it. They were in perfectly good condition. They could have been replaced on the bike, but Devin wouldn't let him near the bike to do so.
Okay, did you take the bike in to have it fixed? Did I put new brakes on the bike?
No, I hadn't even had the chance. When
Well,
he
then
came
you
and
should
did
have the
that.
chance to do it. How much did you pay for the bike?
$65 on sale.
I think you ought to take the bike and have it fixed, and I think you could probably have it fixed for $25, which is what I'm awarding you at a judgment, not the $1,500 that you're asking for. I would suggest you stay away from each other. Did you hang up his bike on a chain link fence?
No.
You didn't? So we couldn't reach it?
It was like a short fence, not a high one.
You can't do that, young man. But you three boys have to leave him alone. If he's weird, stay away from him. Period. And they don't want to play with you anymore. Find somebody else to play with.
Okay.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $25. That's all. Goodbye.
All right, is our excuse. You may step out.
Devin is the kind of person that wants to be friends with everybody.
He pushed me down. He made me hit my head on the cement.
He was calling me names and I didn't like it. And it hurt my feelings. That's what made me angry.
He hates me.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Harris versus Silva. Step forward.
Photographer Jeremy Harris is suing painter Shannon Silva for the cost of a digital camera. Jeremy claims Shannon stole it.
Mr. Harris, you had your camera stolen.
Yes, I did.
And it was an expensive camera. You are a photographer by trade.
I am.
And it is your claim that Mr. Silva stole your camera.
It is.
Mr. Silva says he doesn't know what you're talking about. When was your camera stolen?
On April 18th, which was a Friday.
Where was it stolen from?
From a bar in San Francisco.
Had you ever seen the defendant
No.
before April 18th?
I did not.
Did you see him on April 18th?
No, I did not.
Then what makes you think he stole your camera?
I received a phone call on April 23rd, actually the 22nd, I didn't check the messages until the 23rd, from an individual claiming to have my camera, and he was using it for his own personal use, and was not going to give it back, and some obscenities, and that was basically the gist of the message.
So you think that somebody who stole your camera called you, knew who you were, so they had to have been at the function, or they had to have known you. Is that right?
I returned to the bar that it was stolen from and put up a flyer outside the bar and inside the bar, talked to some of the bartenders and the people who may have been there. And on that flyer, I offered a reward for $200 for the return of the camera, no questions asked, and left my cell phone number on it.
I see. So anybody could have walked in and taken that number.
Yes.
And called you.
Yes.
Whether they stole the camera or not.
Yes, that's true.
So if somebody wanted to torture you, they could have done that. If somebody was acting like a fool, they could have done that.
That's absolutely true.
Now, what makes you think it was Mr. Silva?
The person who left the message conveniently left his cell phone number on my caller ID on my cell phone.
Okay.
Which I, after reporting it to the police, I took the liberty of going after the information myself, which led me to Mr. Silva.
How did you get to him?
Through an online investigative service.
Do you have that
I do.
recording? I'd like to hear it, please.
Hey, I'm calling about your Nikon Coolpix 5000, small black little camera with a strap. I found that thing the night you lost it, so, but it's been very useful, and I just wanted to let you know that, hey, I've got some really good footage and stuff. Hopefully I'll be able to incorporate it with my business. So, cool. I'll put it to good use, don't worry. There's no way I'm ever going to give it back to you, so just write it off the tax deal. Whatever, I don't care. But you're for leaving there in the first place, so you're stupid. Later.
What's the name of the bar?
The tavern?
Have you ever been there, Mr. Silva?
Yes, I have, Your Honor.
Now, let's not even talk about whether or not you stole his camera.
Did I steal his camera?
I didn't ask you whether you stole his camera.
I didn't hear the question.
I said, let's not even talk about whether you stole his camera or not. Let's talk about whether you were an idiot and made the phone call. For fun.
For fun?
Yeah, just for fun.
Well, Your Honor...
Just for fun.
I'm not quite clear on what you're trying to say to me, Your Honor.
What I'm trying to say to you, Mr. Silva, is that you made the phone call because you were a jerk. That doesn't necessarily mean you stole the camera. As a matter of fact, I think that you probably didn't steal the camera. I think that you probably saw the flyer that he put up, which described the camera.
It did.
And decided just to be a dumb creep and call this man and torture him. And do you know why I think that? Who's this person sitting with you?
She's my girlfriend.
Because I was watching her face very carefully. And she knows you called him. So you owe him an apology. You probably didn't steal his camera, but you put him to a great deal of trouble.
Your Honor, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
I called Mr. Harris, and I'm not really quite sure exactly what had happened that evening, the night the phone call was made on the 22nd, but I have no recollection of making the phone call.
But you say you did call him.
There was a phone call made from my phone, but because of my intoxicated state, I have no clue of what had happened. As bad as it may seem, when he summoned, the papers were summoned to me by the court to appear for this theft of the camera, I had no idea, Your Honor.
Mr. Silva.
None.
Mr.
None.
Silva, just listen to me, sir. I'm not suggesting to you that you stole his camera. I'm suggesting to you that you were a jerk. It's your voice, Mr. Silva, on the tape. That's you.
I assume responsibility, even when I called...
Perfect! Perfect.
Just for the fact that it came from my phone, Your Honor.
Perfect. Listen to me, Mr. Silva. You made the phone call. She knows you made the phone call.
Your Honor, she doesn't know that.
Sure she does.
She doesn't know
Sure
that.
she does. If you would have taken a look at her face before, when he took out the machine to play the machine, fortunately, we recorded her face.
Well, I think that you...
Fortunately, we recorded her face, Mr. Silva, so you owe him an apology.
I disagree with that last statement.
You owe him an apology.
I already apologized to Mr.
Good.
Harris.
Mr. Harris, you don't have sufficient proof that Mr. Silva was anything other than drunk and acting like a jerk that night and acting stupid. We have succeeded in displaying that to probably 10 million people. You may feel satisfied, sir, but as far as recouping the cost of your camera, I can't help you with that, Mr. Harris. Got it?
Yes.
Case is dismissed. That's all.
Thank you.
Please excuse me. Step out. Fries. Now, this is case number 154 on the calendar in the matter of Garza versus Stevens. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
Ms. Garza, the defendant is your mother.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, you sold your mother an old refrigerator for $150. Mother agreed to make payments on that of $25 a month.
That's correct.
And she did not.
Correct.
Then it is your claim that you purchased airline tickets for your mother to go to some family function. What kind of function?
My sister was getting married.
And where did you have to fly from and to?
From Spokane to Austin, Texas.
And it is your claim that your mother asked you to purchase the tickets for her with an agreement that she would repay you?
Correct.
She did give you one payment?
Yes, she did.
But then stopped payment on that check?
Correct.
$70. Your mother says that the refrigerator was an old one. You were going to throw it out anyway, so you agreed to give it to her.
That's not her fault.
And the tickets were gifts, even though she gave you a lot of money, including $500 in cash. Is
No.
that right?
Yes,
That's what
I
you're
did.
saying?
Yes.
Okay. So let's get to the refrigerator first.
Okay.
Were you getting a new refrigerator?
Yes, I had new appliances purchased for me in January, the first
By
week
whom?
of January. My mother-in-law bought me new appliances for Christmas. I was going to sell my old refrigerator in the newspaper for $200. My mom asked me, since the apartment she lived in had a lousy refrigerator, she asked if she could buy our old one from us for $150. She'd make payments. I said, okay. And we delivered.
That didn't happen?
No, it didn't.
Well, why don't you tell me your version of what happened?
Yes, Your Honor. She had offered me the refrigerator because she knew my fridge was bad. And she said she'd sell it to me for $50. And then when her and her husband brought it out to the home, my son helped him bring it into the house. And my son and her husband went into Justin's room, and they were talking. And he says, well, Sheila wants $50, but we just want to get rid of it. We're going to get rid of it anyhow. That was the end of it. And then I went up to her Mary Kay party, and something was brought up about the fridge. And I says, oh, wait a minute. I think you better have a talk with Rick. Him and Justin were talking, and Rick said he was just getting rid of it anyhow.
That's not true.
That was the
All right,
bottom
so
line.
then let me dispel that for you, Miss Stevens. You had an agreement with your daughter to buy the refrigerator.
For $50.
That was your agreement. The fact that her husband may have told your son, we were going to get rid of it anyway, that does not vacate your agreement. You still had an agreement. And your daughter says it wasn't for $50, it was for $150. Now, Ms. Garza, is it possible that you made a mistake, that it was $50?
No, Your Honor. It was a Kenmore side-by-side. It was a nice fridge. I was just originally going to get a new dishwasher. there's a good deal going on in January for a fridge as well, matching fridge. I would reimburse my mother-in-law for the new fridge, and I was going to put our old refrigerator in the paper for $200. She wanted to buy it.
Okay. I believe you. Now let's get to the tickets.
Okay.
Tell me about how that came about. Your sister is getting married in Texas.
Yes.
Your mom wants to go.
Yes. My brother was supposed to walk my sister down the aisle. She had nobody to walk her down the aisle. My mom claimed she was not going to allow my brother to go if she could not go as well. Well,
exactly what did she say to you?
She said that I'm not allowing Justin to go if I can't go too. I don't have the funds to go. On the 7th.
7th of what?
Of April. I called Southwest and reserved 2 round-trip tickets for them. Went down the very next day on the 8th and purchased the tickets. I kept the tickets until the day before we left. Said, Mom, these are the tickets. Where's the payment? She said she'd pay me $70 a month.
Just a minute. I didn't hear you make an agreement with her.
Well, it was over the phone. She had said, I will pay you $70.
All I heard was, let's go back, Ms. Garza.
Sorry.
All I heard was she said, I'm not letting him go unless I go too.
Correct.
Then you hopped to, I went and bought the tickets.
Sorry. She had said that, you know, she was going to try to come up with some money. During that time, we had talked. She said, I can't come up with any money. I've tried all my resources. Can I make payments to you? I was very leery at first, said no, because you still haven't paid me for the refrigerator. Talked with my husband, and he said, well, if she's not going to let your brother go. My sister was very upset because she'd already bought the tux for him. She needed him there. I asked my husband, honey, can we do this? I called her. She said, yes, I'll pay you $70 a month. I will write you a check in advance for a payment. And when I got back from Texas, she had put a stop payment on that check.
Can I see the stop payment on
Yes, you can.
Why did you put a stop payment on the check, Ms. Stevens?
Well, the morning that we was leaving from Austin, she had asked me for $20 because she knew that's all I had to my name because I'd lost our round-trip tickets to come home on.
Which I had to repurchase new tickets for them to come back on.
So then she's, oh, I need that money. I said, well, Sheila, you know I broke that 20, you know, to go to the zoo yesterday. And before we left San Antonio, I had wrote my daughter, I have the check here, for $145 because she said, Mom, don't worry about it, we'll get you home. And I says, okay. So I wrote this post-dated check for her to cash.
Which daughter?
Melinda, the one that got married. The one that got married in San Antonio.
Your Honor, that's a wedding gift.
This was not a wedding gift. I did write wedding on it, but it pertained to the wedding and getting home and everything. You know, I just wrote it down there. But this was for our ticket, part of my ticket to get home on. But then, whenever I told her I did not have the money, she called me I'm sorry. She called me a...
That's not true.
And I was just totally... And it's not the first time she's called me numerous names. She keeps me away from my grandchildren at times and everything.
Ms. Stevens, what does that have to do with stopping payments on the $70 check?
Because of her calling me a...
Well, that may wash in a family,
yes,
but it doesn't
you're
wash
right.
in court.
She numerously just degrades me.
Ms. Stevens.
Calls me anorexia, everything, and I'm not.
Ms. Stevens, so what you're saying is you agreed to pay her back for the plane ticket, but you decided not to pay her back because she was disrespectful.
Your Honor, I paid her $500. I borrowed it from my ex-boyfriend that we were together 8 years. I borrowed it from him. She came out that morning. I gave her that.
Wait, just a second. You're doing a fast dance, Ms. Stevens.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your ticket didn't even come to $500.
Then I missed.
So why would you give her $500? You wanted to make her a present?
And later today...
He said, well, with $200, start your payments to get your car fixed.
That's not true.
No, he wouldn't say that. Miss Phillips, don't play with me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sheila Garza says her mother, Lois Stevens, owes for plane tickets and a refrigerator.
You borrowed what and when and from whom? Let's start with what.
Okay.
You borrowed what?
I borrowed $500 from Roger.
When?
On this 1st.
On the 1st of what?
1st of April. Sheila came out to my home.
Yes.
And I had to keep some of the money and everything to buy him clothes, some clothes and everything to go. And then I wrote her a $70 check, you know, to cover the remaining.
You're dancing, Miss Stevens. Are you sick?
I canceled the check because her calling me one too many times.
Are you saying that you gave her $500 in cash?
Yes.
That is not true.
Just a second. Well, that's what you write in your answer, that you gave her $500 in cash.
If you could
on the 1st. Now you say that Roger gave you $500, but you used most of it to buy clothes and other stuff.
No, I used my money for that. I'm sorry, I misstated it.
You misstated it because
yes,
it's not true. You never gave your daughter $500 in cash.
Yes.
Because if you... Hey, listen to me. You never gave her $500 in cash, madam. I'm going to tell you why. Because if you gave her $500 in cash on April 1st, on May 1st, you wouldn't have given her a check for $70. Because that would have paid the entire airline ticket if you gave her $500 in cash, your ticket. So that it would have been no reason for you to give her $70.
No, I did owe her $70, Your Honor. And
from what?
For the tickets and all. And if you could do
Just a minute. What do you mean tickets and all? What is that? How much were the tickets? How much was
$474.
Your ticket didn't even come to $500.
Then I missed.
So why would you give her $500? You wanted to make her a present?
Your Honor, I'm mistaken then because I just been...
You're mistaken. All right, I'll agree that you were mistaken.
Yes, I am.
All right, you're mistaken.
I was just a basket case going to the wedding anyhow because when the kids all get together, they just gang up on me.
It was a nightmare, Your Honor. She completely... it was a complete nightmare having her there. She completely ruined every function that we went to.
No.
I mean, if you need any more evidence, Your Honor, I do have the...
Can I see it, please?
And I have the statement also from Southwest, which they only give this to the purchaser, and they researched and sent that to me stating that I was the reserver and I was the purchaser on both round-trip tickets there and the return tickets back for both of them.
Because you said you could get them cheaper.
That is not true.
What if she can get it cheaper or not? What difference does it make? Why did you lose them?
Accidents happen. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's lost tickets in life.
You're the only one that I know so far today who's lost tickets that somebody else paid for, and then they had to pay for the return tickets.
She did not
and then you don't want to pay her for them.
She did not pay for the tickets.
Did you ever say to your daughter that your son's not going unless I can
go?
go?
No, I definitely did not. I absolutely did not. He can testify to that. And he can testify also to the money situation
and the
refrigerator situation.
I'm not going to ask him to do that. You still live with your mother?
Yes.
How old are you?
18.
You going to stay there for a while?
He's still in school.
Shh. Are you staying there for a while?
Yes.
It's just you and your mother?
Yes.
What's your first name?
Justin.
Justin, your primary responsibility is to make yourself the best human being that you can be. Do you understand me?
Yes.
That's your first responsibility, is to yourself. Do you understand?
Yes.
If you don't do that, you don't have one wasted life, you're going to have two. Do we understand each other?
Yes.
You understand? I don't have to say any more to you, right?
Yes,
Do you understand?
Your Honor.
Not one, and you have two wasted lives. Your primary responsibility is to yourself. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $875. I find that there was an agreement to buy the refrigerator, which was not paid, in addition to the bounced check fee for $70 and the airplane tickets and their replacement. That's all. Step out.
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, you're going to run for
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It is absolutely a lie. And I hope she rots.
I'm told the truth, so...
The Lord is going to see to that.
It's just drama. That's just how she is.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Tebow versus Cody. Step forward, please.
24-year-old vendor representative Christopher Tebow is suing his former friend, 22-year-old waitress Joanne Cody, for an unpaid loan to bail her ex-boyfriend out of jail. Joanne says it's her ex who owes.
Mr. Tebow, it is your claim that you made a loan to the defendant in the amount of, I believe, $800?
Yes.
The loan was in order for her to secure the release of her then-boyfriend who was incarcerated. Boyfriend's name was?
Daniel Norman.
Daniel. Ms. Cody says that she did, in fact, take $800 from you for the bail.
Yes.
But there was never a loan because she never made an agreement to repay you. Is that right?
Correct. Daniel agreed to repay him once we bailed him out of jail.
All right. Who is this?
That's Dan Norman.
Daniel. I assume you're not together anymore.
No.
Stand up for a second. Just some preliminary questions. Daniel, you have a last name.
Norman.
What were you in jail for?
Myself and a friend of mine broke into a car and took the radio out.
Were you convicted of that charge?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you receive a jail sentence or were you placed on probation?
Probation.
Now, did you live in one state and
Yes.
were arrested in a different state?
Correct.
Okay. Where did you steal this car? In what state?
Connecticut.
And where do you live?
Massachusetts.
Didn't they have cars in Massachusetts, Daniel?
Yes.
Now, I say that because you were a Massachusetts resident and were arrested in Connecticut, your bail was higher.
Correct.
So in the future, you understand where you have to do business.
Not at all, Your Honor.
Right? Now, who was the first person you called?
I called my grandparents.
And they could not help you with any money?
No.
Had you been arrested before in Massachusetts, Daniel?
Yes, ma'am.
For what?
Operating on a suspended license.
What else?
In Massachusetts, I believe there's many operating on a suspended along motor vehicle lines.
So your grandparents had it?
Correct.
Who did you call?
I didn't call anybody.
How did you get bailed out?
There was a friend that was with me.
Yes?
He got bailed out by his girlfriend, and he called around a couple of my friends to try to put together some money for me.
You didn't make any phone calls?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
I was only allowed one.
Okay. This lady is...
Joanne's mother, Elfrida Cody. It's not true. Marion from the court there called up our house and asked Joanne if Joanne could bail him out and loan him $350.
Who called you from the court?
Marion, a girl named by Marion.
Who's Marion?
I believe she was worked in the public defender's office.
Ah. Daniel, when I ask you if you called and you say, I never called, if you gave her telephone number to the public defender who was handling your case, I consider that you calling.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Did you give the public defender Miss Cody's telephone number?
I did, Your Honor.
So when you were contacted by the public defender, what did you say?
I said, what are you calling in reference to? And she explained to me, Daniel Norman's been arrested. And I said, how much is his bail? She said, $350. And when I got to Hartford, where he is arrested, they told me it was going to be more money because of the fact that he was a Massachusetts resident.
So now we have that cleared up.
Yes, ma'am.
May I say something else?
Sure, you've been doing well so far.
They were boy and girlfriends.
I figured that.
Because one time they went out, she had too much to drink, and he put her in the shower. Because I know his blue car.
That was a little more information than I needed. Now you can have a seat.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christopher Tebow says his former friend, Joanne Cody, owes for a loan to bail her ex-boyfriend out of jail. Joanne says the person who owes is standing next to Christopher.
So when you found out you needed more money, what did you do?
I had $1,300 in my savings account. Chris had called me and I was crying and he asked what was the matter. And I said, you know, Dan did something stupid again where he's involved with the cops and it's going to be $2,100 to get him out. I only have $1,300. And he said, I can help and give $800 towards it. And I said, fine. And when we got him out, Dan told him, I will pay you back. Because I feel, why should I have to pay him back when Dan owes me $700 from putting his car back on the road for him?
Who put whose car back on the road?
I loaned Dan $700 to put his car back on the road. So when I got the bail check back from Connecticut, I felt I didn't have to pay because, one, Dan was supposed to take care of this $800.
You see, Miss Cody, what I didn't understand was your math. You put in $1,300, correct?
Correct.
But you got back $1,750.
Yes.
So there's an extra $450, right?
Right.
Why should you be able to keep that?
Because Dan said he was going to pay Chris back the $800, and I put Dan's car back on the road for $700. So
That's a different lawsuit. If you claim a loan to him for something else, sue him. But if you only put in $1,300, you can't keep all that money, that $450. That's unreasonable. Do you understand?
Yes.
Now, I see immediately that she's got to give you $450 because she can't make a profit on his jail.
Right.
But why don't you sue him for the other $350?
Because the initial agreement was she could pay me back as soon as she could.
Well, let me ask you this, sir. Who did you come to court with today?
Daniel.
What about dinner last night? Who did you have dinner with?
Daniel.
Who did you have dinner with?
My mother.
Are you following where I'm going?
Yes.
Why don't you pay him back some of the money that he laid out to get you out of jail?
Because the agreement, when I...
Why don't you pay him back some of the money he laid out while you were in jail?
Because Miss Cody already received that collateral money back.
She only received part of it back.
Correct, and I was to pay her the extra $350 the bondsman keeps as a fee.
Did you pay her?
No, ma'am, not yet.
Why not?
Because she hasn't contacted me at all. I have no idea where she is. This is the first time I've seen her.
She's whole now. She got her $1,300. The only one who's not whole now is your buddy that you had dinner with last night.
Correct.
So why don't you pay him back? He's going to get $450 from Miss Cody, leaving a balance of $350. Who should pay that, Bird?
No, ma'am.
Me?
No, ma'am.
Her?
No, ma'am.
Who?
Myself.
Yes, sir! Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $450. You cannot profit. Do you understand?
Yes.
Thank you. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. This is case number 129, Your Honor, in the matter of Bracey versus Plumlee Taylor. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Mr. Bracey, you and Mr. Plumlee were involved in an automobile accident.
That's correct.
When was that, sir?
December 14th, 2002.
From what I gather, ultimately, Mr. Plumlee's insurance paid for the damage that was done to your car.
That's correct.
Miss Taylor was a passenger in Mr. Plumlee's car. Mr. Plumlee, on the evening of the accident, was arrested for driving while under the influence of alcohol. Is that right?
No, I was
or
actually...
were you ticketed?
Yeah, I was convicted
I
of...
didn't ask you what you were convicted of, Mr. Plumlee. I asked you whether you were arrested or ticketed that night.
No, I went to the hospital.
Were you subsequently either arrested or ticketed?
Yes, I was.
For what?
For illegally consuming alcohol under the age of 21.
No. That is incorrect, Mr. Plumlee. When I ask you a question, you have to give me the answer.
Okay.
You were given a ticket for what? I didn't ask you what you were ultimately convicted of, Mr.
Right.
Plumlee. I asked you what you were given a ticket for.
DUI.
For DUI?
Yeah, but it's not actually a DUI. It was like...
No, what is it, an elephant?
No, it's under the age, drinking and driving, under the age of 21. It's under Statute 18 in the Virginia laws.
Mr. Plumlee, you were drunk that night.
No, I had like 1-2 beers.
Are you telling him what to say?
No, why?
Good. Say nothing until I speak to you. In any event, you had been drinking.
Yes, ma'am.
So your insurance company assumed the responsibility of paying for Mr. Bracey's damages.
Yes, ma'am.
Fortunately, Mr. Bracey wasn't hurt. You were. How long were you hospitalized?
3 days.
What kind of injuries did you have?
Just internal bruising.
You were lucky. What about you, Miss Taylor?
I just had a little cut in my hair, that's it.
Mr. Bracey's claim is that despite the fact that your insurance paid for the damages to his car, which was relatively new, lost value as a result of this accident, and you should pay for that loss of value. And that you, Miss Taylor, are also liable because you got into the car with someone who had been drinking. So that's why he's suing you.
Yeah.
I'm going to take care of that part of his lawsuit very fast. The case against you is dismissed on my own motion. You can sit down.
All right.
You have no case against her. I don't know if you have a case against Mr. Plumlee, even though you're pretty aggravated and irritated with him. Let's see. Tell me about the accident itself, just to give me a frame of reference, Mr. Bracey.
On the morning of December 14th, my wife and I left our house and drove about 1.5 miles to the intersection where the accident occurred. I was driving less than the speed limit. I approached the intersection. I had the green light. Mr. Plumlee entered the intersection. He had a red light, and the collision occurred.
Your wife was in the car with you?
My wife was in the car.
Was she injured in any way?
No, she wasn't. We were both fortunate.
Very. What kind of car were you driving?
I had a Range Rover.
What year?
1999.
Okay. You have photographs of the car?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to see them. What happened immediately after the accident, Mr. Bracey?
It was a pretty severe impact. Initially, I thought I'd killed the defendant.
I see his car. He's lucky he wasn't killed. Bird.
I checked my wife. We had 2 dogs in our car, and everybody seemed to be okay in my car. I went over to Mr. Plumlee's car, and I seriously thought that I had killed him at that moment or he would soon die. So I got a blanket and covered him up. From there, EMT arrived almost immediately and began taking care of them, and I went back and took care of my wife.
Who was probably pretty shaken up. What about Miss Taylor?
She didn't appear to be hurt. She was what appeared to be in shock, and she was to some degree tending to the defendant. My wife went over and told her not to move him, and then she went back to our truck and stayed in the truck for the rest of the...
Now, what time was this?
This was at 8:30 in the morning.
And you were on your way to work?
No, we were out on a family outing. This was a Saturday morning.
Where were you going, Mr. Plumlee?
I was on my way home.
From where?
From a buddy's house. I'd been playing darts all night long.
And what about Miss Taylor?
She was with me.
Is she your girlfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So now I know what happened. He's playing darts and having one beer all night. He almost gets himself killed. You got a good smash on the front end of your Range Rover that looks like a pretty decent car, because despite the fact that you caused the kind of damage you caused to his car when you hit it, your car was relatively unscathed. You're pretty lucky. Now, my question to you, Mr. Bracey, is when you accepted the money from Mr. Plumlee's insurance, did they or did they not have you sign a general release?
No, ma'am, they did not. I didn't get any money from his insurance company. They paid the repair shop directly.
So you signed nothing?
I signed nothing.
How do you value loss of value on a 1999 Range Rover, which has been repaired to your satisfaction, because it had to be to your satisfaction? How do you value loss?
Well, I talked to the defendant's insurance company. They gave me a set of criteria that I would have to meet. One of those was to get an independent appraiser to appraise my car both before and after the accident. And I did that.
Can I see it, please?
Yes, ma'am. And that appraisal is what I base my claim on.
What happened when you gave this to the defendant's insurance company?
They looked at it and basically disregarded it and offered me a $1,000 settlement. They had another appraisal done that came up with an appraisal of $981.
Can I see it, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so your appraisal says that the car has a diminished value of $4,400, and the insurance company says that it's about $1,000. What do you say, sir?
I have no idea how much his car lost value, if it lost value. I'm assuming it did lose value. I wish it wouldn't have happened, but I mean, I know I was wrong in the situation. But I mean, from my understanding, my insurance company did take care of his vehicle. On top of that, offered him $1,000. And I feel that, you know, it's been amended, and it's basically how I feel.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What kind of work do you do?
Wash trucks.
How much did you pay for this car, Mr. Bracey?
$58,000.
How long do you think you have to work to make $58,000?
It'd be an awful long time.
And later today.
So you think that somebody who stole your camera called you. Now, what makes you think it was Mr. Silva?
The person who left the message conveniently left his cell phone number on my caller ID.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. James Bracey says 20-year-old Michael Plumlee owes for the loss of value to his vehicle due to a drunk driving accident.
How much did you pay for this car, Mr. Bracey?
$58,000.
Why did you go like this for? What does that mean? Somebody give it to you as a gift?
No, ma'am. I bought it. I worked hard. I bought it.
And you paid $58,000 for it?
Yes, ma'am. It had a sticker price of $62,000.
You drove a hard bargain.
Not
Mr.
hard
Plumlee,
Yes.
How old are you, sir?
20.
You work?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
Wash trucks, tractor and trailers.
You wash them?
Yes.
How long do you think you have to work to make $58,000?
It'd be an awful long time.
Long time. What kind of work do you do, Mr. Bracey?
I'm a commercial pilot.
So he works hard for his money, right? And because of your actions that day, his car does have diminished value because there was certain structural damage to the car as indicated by both his appraisal and your insurance company. And why should he have to suffer that loss? Fortunately, he wasn't hurt. That's the most important thing. But I understand why you're angry, because this young man was up all night doing the wrong thing, and you and your wife suffered a loss. You want to be fully compensated. I don't blame you. I think somewhere in between the $4,400, sir, and the $900, there is a reasoned amount. You agree with that?
Your Honor, I agree with what you're saying. However, I did see other appraisals of the truck.
Mm-hmm.
So they weren't just two different opinions.
You have other appraisals?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll take a look at them.
Okay. As I said, I base my claim on that appraisal.
I know you do, sir, but that
these
doesn't
are
mean
some-
that I have to base my response on that
Yes, ma'am.
appraisal. Sir, let me explain something to you. The general manager of Land Rover is not an expert witness. I accepted your appraiser because your appraiser has indicated that he has been certified as an expert witness in some 25 trials. I believe that you are giving me evidence that is credible. This is not credible evidence.
Your Honor, on the letter that their appraiser sent, it states that he did not see my car. He did not have the opportunity to see my car. He is basing this on never having seen it. He does have the accessories on my car incorrect. He does have the value incorrect of my car because he did not correctly assess the accessories.
Sir, without an expert witness who's able to see this so that I can ask him questions, I have to rely on these two appraisals. The appraisal from the insurance company gave what you paid for the car, which was $58,000. They gave the retail value at the time, what they perceived as their Blue Book value. They came up with a formula. That's not this. Somewhere in between these two amounts is what I call aggravation money. You got your car fixed. In all probability, it's fixed to your satisfaction. You're still driving it. I assume you're still driving it, are you not?
I'm still driving it, but it's had to go back into the shop 3 times because of the frame damage.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. You have those bills?
No, ma'am, I do not.
I mean, that's continuous and ongoing. Instead of bringing me this, why don't you bring me that? $2,695.85 is right smack dab in the middle between what the insurance company says your loss was and what your appraisers say your loss of value is. That's right in the middle, and that's, Mr. Bracey, what I believe you're entitled to. You should, again, thank your lucky stars that neither you nor your wife were hurt and that Mr. Plumlee was not killed, because despite the fact that it was his fault, you probably would have felt very, very badly. You have any other DUIs on your record?
No, ma'am.
You ever going to have one again?
No, I don't plan.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,695.85. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He was compensated for what his vehicle was, you know, repaired, and basically he got a plus by catching a little bit of extra money, you know.
When I go to sell it, I will lose in the neighborhood of $4,400.
It is running, and it is still in the same form that it was in before, you know, you even got in an accident.
I think the lesson for the defendant is don't drive drunk.
Yeah, I don't plan on having any more on my record.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Thomas versus Warden, step forward, please.
21-year-old dispatcher Nicola Thomas is suing 21-year-old auto detailer Anthony Warden for an unpaid loan to buy a car.
Miss Thomas, you claim a loan to the defendant in the amount of $1,300 for an old car.
Yes.
But it was a new car to him.
Right.
Why would you loan him $1,300?
He was my boyfriend, and we had been dating off and on for about a year. And I got my income tax money, and I was going to get a new car, but we couldn't share cars because we worked different hours. Yes, we were living together.
You were living together?
Yes, we were.
Go ahead.
So his boss was selling a Lincoln for $1,600. And he said if we were to give him $1,300, he could drive the car home and just pay the $300 when he gets it. So I loaned him the $1,300.
Well, what did you say to him? And what did he say to you? Shh, listen to me.
Okay.
He came home and said to you, my boss has a car that he's selling.
Yes, and he wanted me to get the car. I didn't want that car. I wanted a new car. I said, well, I can't give you $1,300. I can loan you $1,300. And you have to pay me back little by little.
Is that what happened?
No, ma'am.
I didn't think so. Go ahead.
Your Honor, Nicholas took me through so much.
Listen to me. I have a short life. I'm not interested in what Nicolette has taken you through. I'm interested in the $1,300 for the car. Get to it.
The $1,300 is right here. I put $1,000 down, she gave me, and we paid $300 for the payment. That's the $1,300 that she drives the car now.
That's the Dodge.
Just a second.
We're talking about the Lincoln.
We're talking about a 1997 Lincoln.
I paid cash for my car.
Mr. Warden, if you're going to be a liar, I'm not going to listen to you. I read your answer, sir. Your answer says that you took $1,300 from her, but it was a gift.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, your other story is that you gave the money. It wasn't our money.
She never gave me any loan. I've never said that. The money she's talking about is right here.
Mr. Warden, you're really going to irritate me. And Bird doesn't like it when people irritate me, because he doesn't like my reaction when people irritate me. But I can't stand people who lie to me because they think I'm stupid. That irritates me, and then I tend to explode. Now, you don't want me to explode with you, right? You say in your answer, and I'm paraphrasing, she gave me the money because I spent plenty of money on her while we were together. That's what you said in your answer. That's what you swore to in your answer. Want to show this to Mr. Genius over there and ask him if that's his signature? Is that your signature, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Try to hold it together.
I understand.
Do you understand? Can't always do it. All right. Now, you want to start this all over again?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Your boss was selling his car. You came home and you said to Miss Thomas, what?
I'm going to purchase a car from my boss.
Good. And she said to you what?
That she needed a car also.
And you said what?
That we would finance one, a brand new car for her.
And you would pay cash for yours.
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you get the cash from?
My job.
That's not what you said here in your answer, Mr. Warden.
She gave me money on several occasions, but it had nothing to do with a car or anything. We gave each other money.
Well, what did she give you money for at about the time that you bought the car?
Around that time, we were hurting because I was purchasing my car and she was purchasing hers. We did not loan each other anything.
I didn't ask you whether it was a loan, sir. I said, how much money did she give you at around the time that you purchased the car?
Not a cent.
Oh, you two people really deserve each other. You're a liar. You can't follow your own storyline in your head. You said we gave each other money back and forth, and by the time I was financing the car, I was really strapped for money. So I said, how much money did she give you? About that time, you said nothing. You are better off without him, because he's the kind of guy that will continue to lie to you, but will always be tripping over his tie because he doesn't remember 1 minute to the next what story he's telling you. Do you understand? But this was not a loan. You never made him a loan. You gave him the money. Now, you have this new car that you financed?
Yes, ma'am.
And it's financed in whose name?
Both of ours.
So he's also responsible for it?
Right.
Sounds perfect to me. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Ercolani versus Wilby. Step forward, please.
Casino worker Mary Ercolani is suing her deceased friend's husband, casino worker Alan Wilby, for a gambling debt incurred by his late wife. Alan says Mary enabled his wife's addiction.
Ms. Ercolani, it is your claim that Mr. Wilby owes you $4,000 for a debt that was incurred by his wife.
That is correct.
He says he owes you nothing. So you want to tell me about this debt?
About the 3rd of August, she called me at work.
Where do you work?
For casinos.
Where is that?
That's in Las Vegas.
So she called you at your place of business, at your work, at your
Yes.
job, and said what?
She said, I'm going to get an early out tonight. Why don't you come over and we'll play for a while?
Play what?
Gamble. Play the machines. I went over to the Aladdin, and she said to me, do you have your credit card? I said, yes, I do. She said, can you get me $4,000? We went to the cage. We purchased tokens there, our chips. I gave her the tokens for $3,000, which she cashed out and got cash for, and 1,000 cash.
And what did you discuss with her about this money?
Well, she immediately wrote me this check that I have right here.
I see what she's got.
And she said, I'm due an inheritance from my great uncle, I believe she said. And she said, well, as soon as I get my inheritance, I'll give you your money back. And she has borrowed off me through the years and has paid me back $200 or $300 a month, but it was never this large amount.
Mm-hmm.
And so she handed me that check, and she said, as soon as I get the inheritance, you'll get it. I said, I'm going on vacation. I need my money back before going on vacation in October. My family are coming, and I got to have this credit available for my vacation. She said, oh, you'll have it back. I'm sure I'll have it by the end of August or early September at the latest. You'll have
Fine.
it long before
Did
then.
you get it back in October?
No. I called her, and we talked in September. She called me, and she said, Mary, I apologize, but I don't have your money yet. One of the aunts and a cousin have contested it. But as soon as I get the money, I'll give you your money. Or I'll write the date on the check, then I could deposit it in my account. And that's what my plans was, to deposit this check.
I understand what your plan was, but unfortunately, Mr. Wilby's wife took her own life in November. Is that right, sir?
15th of November.
Had your wife had a history of depression?
Yeah, she was on, I don't know what it was, Prozac, I think.
Did she have a gambling problem?
Big gambling problem. I tried to get her to go to Gamblers Anonymous, which she did a few times. And she'd do good, and then every time she'd get with this lady, she'd start all over again. I tried to get her to stay away from her, but according to both of them, they were really
That's not a
best
true
friends.
fact. We didn't get together that often.
Well, you already told me that you
4
lent her
times a
money
year
over.
was too much.
Shh. You already told me that you lent her money frequently and that she paid you back.
And I would leave and go home, and she would go out on her own.
I don't understand why you would give her $4,000. I'm not necessarily doubting that you gave her the money, but if you knew that Mr. Wilby was concerned that his wife had a gambling problem, why would you give her $4,000?
Why wouldn't I give it to her? She was
Because-
my best friend.
Well,
She
listen-
asked me for it. She needed it. I gave it to her.
Well, then that's your problem. I just asked you a question. You didn't answer the question. I said, why would you contribute to her gambling problem?
Because I'm a gambler also, ma'am.
Well, then you deal with the $4,000. Case is dismissed. That's all.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Morgan versus Morgan, step forward, please.
Special ed teacher Debbie Morgan is suing her son, 25-year-old Jason Morgan, and his wife, 23-year-old Melissa, for the return of her property and for running up $1,100 in porn website charges.
Mrs. Morgan, the defendant is your son, and this is his wife.
Yes.
And according to what I've read in the complaint, they needed a place to live. You told them that they could move in with you in your home. After a short period of time, they had the run of the house, and you decided to live elsewhere. And you had an arrangement with them that they were going to pay the mortgage on the house and take care of utilities on the house.
Right.
Your problem is, and what your lawsuit suggests, is that they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
Right.
You evicted them, and when they left, they took all of your property. In addition to that, your son or daughter-in-law racked up $1,100 sex phone bill.
Yes.
Mr. Morgan,
Yes, ma'am.
let's deal with the telephone first, because that's the easiest one, sir.
Yeah, that's, I wasn't even aware that it was that expensive or anything like that.
Mr. Morgan,
No, it was some stuff on the internet.
is that your bill?
Yes, ma'am.
See how easy that is?
Yeah.
How much was the bill, Mrs. Morgan?
It's $1,100.
Let me take a look at it.
I had to charge the money, Your Honor, to pay the $581 because the lady threatened me, saying that she would tell the school district that I was on porn sites. I don't have a computer. I've never been on porn sites. I was in fear that I would lose my job, so I paid him.
Melissa.
Yes.
I'm going to talk to you because I think maybe you're a little more together than your husband. Was he drinking this morning?
No, my
All right.
husband doesn't drink.
Good. So then he should be all together, right, Melissa? Perfect. Now, let's talk about what happened when you caused your son and his wife to be evicted, Mrs. Morgan. Tell me what happened.
After the phone calls and whatever, they told me they would pay so much a month. They weren't able to. They didn't. That was fine.
No.
Sir, listen to me. If you are not currently on any mind-altering substance, what I want you to do is understand where you are. You're in a courtroom. It's my courtroom. One person talks, everybody else is quiet. When I speak, everybody is quiet. She has her turn, then you have your turn. Do we understand each other?
Yes.
Perfect. Go ahead.
Jason told me that he opened up a house payment and that I was late. I was like 2 weeks late on the house payment, which I was, because I had paid.
She was 3 months late.
Oh, never, never.
Shh. Melissa.
Sorry.
You hear what I said to him? Goes for you. Go ahead.
I've never been that late on any bill in my life, but because they were late on utilities, I was trying to pay the utilities because they were in my name, and then when they paid me for the utilities, I was going to pay the house payment. Jason told me that he thought I was just blowing the money and he wasn't going to pay the rent and he hoped that I lost my home.
Was he paying you the money and you were paying the mortgage?
Right.
I see.
Right.
What's the mortgage payment?
$506 almost. And then with taxes and insurance, that's all I was charging them, is what I had to pay. When he told me that he hoped I lost my home, I went and filed an eviction on him. During that eviction, Melissa was there. I did ask the judge that my property be left in the same, that it was how it was, and all my furniture, because I not only left the utilities on in my name, I left all my belongings there. That's the eviction that I was awarded with $1,200 that they owed me. The judge said if they did take my property, it would be another court matter.
So the judge awarded you $1,200 for rent and damages. Is that right?
Just for rent and court costs.
No.
Oh, well,
Rent
I didn't see where it said
and
damages.
$20 for court costs. Okay. Rent and damages were $1,200. $20 for court costs. Okay. Now I'll hear you, sir.
All right, well, like she said, at the beginning, she was staying there with us, but we didn't run her out of the house. She left the home. She left the home because her and my father were in the middle of a divorce, and I was put in the middle of protecting her from him. This wasn't me pushing her out. We took over her bills so that she could get an apartment because she was in fear for her own personal safety. It wasn't like she stipulated in her little, thing she wrote to you or whatever. That's not the truth. After I moved all of her furniture for her to her new apartment and went and helped her get it on there and arrange it for her and everything, she had told me, you guys can just have that stuff. But that was whenever she was on her bingo high or whatever. She's broke now. She wants all of her stuff back.
Let me ask you these following questions.
Yes,
Your
ma'am.
mother moved into an apartment. How large an apartment did she move into?
1 bedroom, I believe.
And what did she use to furnish the 1-bedroom apartment?
She bought all new furniture.
Is that correct?
I kept my bedroom set. I bought some new furniture, not all new.
Okay. But your apartment was fully furnished?
Yes.
Did you sign a lease in that apartment?
No, it's a month-to-month tenancy.
Where do you live now?
In the apartment.
So you're still there?
Mm-hmm.
Who lives in the house?
My little sister.
Right now, my daughter lives in the house. I'm trying to help her the same I helped you, Jason.
Okay. And how old is your daughter?
You helped me
21.
a lot.
Hi, Jason.
You would still be there, Jason.
What?
Miss Morgan may be annoyed with your son, but I want to tell you something. This lawsuit doesn't have a ring of truth to it to me. If you moved...
Okay.
Listen, even with your big mouth, you seem to be ahead of the game, so why don't you close it? To help your children, and you're moving into a 1-bedroom apartment. You're not living in your house anymore, and you got a lot of old furniture. You might say to him, look, I'm moving into an apartment. I'm going to get some old stuff, but as soon as you're finished with it, I want it back.
I did.
Listen to me carefully. I don't believe it. I don't believe you. I think you started a new life in a new apartment. You went out and bought some new furniture. You took your bedroom set, your son and his wife, and I don't know, you have a couple of kids?
Yes.
And you're expecting another one?
Yes.
You said to them, take the house, just make sure that you make the mortgage payment. You had a fight about something. I don't believe that there was ever any arrangement that they were going to return the furniture to you. I don't believe that at all.
That's not a point.
You owe your mother $1,125 for your sex phone calls. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,125. The action for the furniture return is dismissed. That's all.
Party's up. Yeah, this is case number 109 on the calendar in the matter of Noonan versus Montanez.
Thank you,
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. Noonan, you rented a room from Mr. Montanez, and it is your claim that he locked you out of the house, retained some of your property. You are suing him for pro-rata rent because you paid part of the month that you claim he wouldn't let you back into the room, that he kept some of your large pieces of furniture that you couldn't get out, and that you had given him a security deposit that he won't return.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Montanez says that you unceremoniously left without giving him the requisite 30-day notice. He is counterclaiming for the following: for storing your property and for the rent for 30 days because you didn't give him 30 days notice.
That's correct.
When did you find this room and how?
I found it on November 1 of 2002, and I found it in a local newspaper, a very small ad. I responded to it.
Why were you looking for a room?
I needed a room to rent. I just sold my house over the summer, and I was relocating to Woodbridge from Fairfax County, which is approximately 30 miles.
So you answered a local ad. You went and looked at the room.
Yes.
Tell me about the house.
The house is in a police blue, so to speak. It's all painted in blue, and it's fairly clean.
Must have been clean if you look like a clean, neat person.
Thank you. I do appreciate a clean environment, and yes, it was cleaned when I came in.
How many people were living there?
One.
Mr. Montanez.
Correct, Your Honor.
How many bedrooms were there?
There is a total of 3 bedrooms in this 3-level single-family home.
3 bedrooms. You were going to have one.
Correct. The room on the middle level, which is the only room on the middle level.
Mr. Montanez had one.
Yes.
Did you ask him who was going to use the 3rd bedroom?
It was my understanding, Your Honor, that that 3rd bedroom was his office/den.
Is that what he told you?
Yes.
Okay, and you agreed on a rental price. What was that?
That was $375, which included utilities and phone.
When did you move in?
On November 1 of 2002, Your Honor.
So the same day that you saw it?
Correct.
And what did you bring with you?
I brought pretty much everything to complete a room with a bed, computer, stereo, 2 TVs.
So how was everything in November? Okay?
Well, you know, it was okay to an extent. He had a 19-year-old girlfriend at the time, and they would fight like cats and dogs around the hours of 2 and 4 in the morning, which is when they would come in, Your Honor.
That was in November. Now, did you know that she was living there at the time, or was she living there?
No, Your Honor. It is my understanding that she was not living there, and she would be there maybe twice a week, staying over.
So she wouldn't be over there all the time?
Correct.
What about December?
December, the same as November.
January?
The same as November and December.
March?
And if I can stop you here, Your Honor, because I believe it was the end of January of 2003 where the woman across from me moved in.
So February was not such a good month, the month we passed over.
Correct.
Tell me what happened in February, because I've read your complaint.
Okay. And after reviewing my notes, I realized that it was at the end of January 2002 when I woke up one morning and found Maria and her 3 children.
Marie, is that you? Marie had been, according to your complaint and according to your answer, Mr. Montanez's former girlfriend.
That's my understanding.
And in February, the end of January, beginning of February, Mr. Montanez, Maria moved back in with her 3 children. Is that right, sir?
That's correct.
Not what you bargained for.
Correct.
When did you move out?
Well, the next day when I woke up to this, I brought this to Miguel's attention, told him that I was interested in renting what we had previously as an environment, which was...
I got you. It's a no-brainer so far.
Thank you.
You rented a room in a house with 1 man, and all of a sudden, you got instant family, and none of the perks.
Correct.
Now, it indicates here that he locked you out at some point. When did he lock you out?
I received a voicemail message on the morning of April 10th of 2003 stating that he had changed the locks and that I'm not allowed to come back.
Did you leave a message on his machine that you were changing the locks on the door? That's it, either a yes or a no, sir. If you tell me that you did not, and I find out that you did, I'm going to wipe up the floor with you. Do you understand?
I understand.
Good. Now, did you or did you not leave him a voicemail that you had changed the locks on the door?
Yes, I did.
You see how easy that was, Mr. Montanez? You were going to lie to me at first, sir. On what date did he lock you out?
This is on the 10th of April, 2000.
Had you paid April's rent?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you give him a security deposit, Mr. Noonan?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. What was the security deposit?
$250.
Oh. And what property is left in the house?
The bed and the computer desk.
Bed. Desk.
Desk chair. Clothes. 2 dressers.
Did you take your TVs?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okie dokie. Mr. Montanez.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's talk about the lack of 30-day notice first. You indicate that you are counterclaiming because you say he failed to give you 30 days notice. How does one give you 30 days notice if you told him you changed the locks on the house?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You called Child Protective Services,
Yes, Your Honor.
and then you called Animal Control. For what reason?
I woke up and came out of my bedroom door, and there was a pit bull at my bedroom door.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Joseph Noonan says ex-roommate Miguel Montanez locked him out and kept his property. Miguel says he's welcome to pick up his belongings.
Go ahead.
Situation when the chains were locked in that day was because the phone call I got from my daughters, they were pretty much terrorized for the last couple of days by him. He had been calling me every day on my cell phone, complaining about my daughters that they were using the phone.
Your daughters? Which daughters?
Jeanette and Desenia. They're actually Maria's daughters. They have been with her for 5 years.
I don't care if they were been with you for 5 years, if they've been with you for 5 minutes. They're not your daughters. They're her daughters.
Okay, her daughters.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Her daughters, who were not present, who were not living there the month of November, December, and part of January. Certainly weren't living there when he saw the house. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And how old are these daughters?
13, 14, and 6.
13, 14, and 6. Well, 13 and 14 are usually a disaster in girls. Miserable for the parents whose loins from whence they came, and certainly miserable for strangers. Having had daughters? Don't look like that. You want to talk to me about your teenage daughters?
My teenage daughters are fun.
To you. How about to their mother?
They're a joy.
They're a joy. Well, having had teenage daughters and even a teenage grandson, I can tell you teenage years are not very happy years. Most teenagers are discontent about something, and being a stranger around teenagers, especially... Do you have children, sir?
I do not, Your Honor.
That's difficult. Not what he bargained for.
Yes.
You locked him out. So if you lock him out, Mr. Montanez, how do you have the chutzpah, gall, to sue him for lack of 30 days' notice?
I was changing the door until he came home so I could speak to him because the police was responding to my house that day.
I don't want to hear. You told him you changed the locks. That's a lockout. And he had already paid you for April's rent.
That's correct.
So you have to give him back April's rent.
Yes.
See how easy that was? $375. You have his deposit.
Yes, I do.
Did you give it back to him?
I couldn't.
Why?
When he moved out, they didn't tell me where he went, where he moved to, nothing. I had no contact with him, where he went.
Here we go. Wonderful. So that you would have given him his deposit back if you knew where he went.
And the prorated rent of his property.
Just a second. You would have given him back. I'm just curious. You would have given him back his deposit.
Yes.
Perfect. I mean, I'm just curious about this whole thing, about this counterclaim that you claim that you have against him. $250, you would have returned to him.
Correction, ma'am. The security deposit was $200. He could make
You have
correction.
proof that it was $200?
It was
Your Honor, I do apologize. It is $200 versus $250.
Don't do anything that would make me question the rest of what you say, Mr. Noonan.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. Now, you have his property. Do you have his? Let us
Yes,
go
I-
over this. Bed.
I have a list right here and photograph of his property.
Perfect. May I see it, please?
And the storage shed, what I left, what is storage at.
Now, is it in the storage shed, sir?
Yes, it is.
Fine. You can pick all this stuff up 5 days from today. Now, Mr. Montanez.
Yes, ma'am.
Why would you think, sir, that he would be happy if you moved your girlfriend back in with her 3 children?
When he moved into my house, I advised him from the beginning that I had 2 girls for my divorce that are in Maryland. I bring him up, and they'll be spending time with us. I also have friends
fine.
that come over and stay over. So if it was in another episode, The Odd Couple here, he knows there's going to be people in the house all the time. He
Mr.
was happy
Montanez,
when he moved in.
Mr. Montanez, he moved into a quiet house with one other man.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Noonan, I would have suggested to you, sir, that since I gather what you did was at 2 separate occasions. You called Child Protective Services
Yes, Your Honor.
because you claimed neglect of the 6-year-old,
That's correct.
Marie's 6-year-old child,
All 3 of them, Your Honor.
that they were totally unsupervised and out of control. And then you called Animal Control For what reason?
Because I woke up roughly about a week later, Your Honor, a week after these folks had moved in, and I woke up and came out of my bedroom door, and there was a pit bull at my bedroom door. And I asked Miguel immediately what this was about, and he said that this dog jumped into his vehicle at 7-Eleven. So now he has a dog.
The dog jumped into his vehicle at 7-Eleven.
This is correct, Your Honor.
She did.
So why did you call animal control?
Because, Your Honor, when the dog started defecating in the backyard, Miguel's response was, the dog can no longer go in the backyard. So what would happen is the dog would defecate and urinate in the living room and in front of my door, Your Honor, because on occasion when I would come out of my bedroom to go to the kitchen to get food, the dog would be shaking by the door. I knew that he wanted to go out to go to the bathroom, so I'd take him out. So the dog, just being his natural animal self, would respond to the person that would take him out. So that's why when I wasn't there and he had to go to the bathroom, he would urinate in front of my door, he would defecate in front of my door, and there was 2 urine stains that were there the last 2 weeks that were in front of my door. And when the police came by to escort me to collect my belongings, and I brought that up to them, I said, oh, and animal control, I brought it up to them. Miguel's response to animal control was, it's my house, meaning I can have it any way I want, urine and all.
You still have the dog?
Yes, I do. It's a good girl.
Yeah, he said it's a nice dog. He said you're not a good
I
owner.
could explain to you about the dog.
Go ahead.
Okay. She defecated one time, and one time only, and we cleaned it because we lost schedule of walking her. That was one incident.
Okay. I think Mr. Noonan probably overreacted.
He did.
In any event, Mr. Montanez, you are not entitled to storage fees. You are not entitled to money for 30 days' notice. You are not entitled to any money. You owe him $575. And 5 days from today, he's going to report to your shed in the company of a peace officer or a third person to pick up the remainder of his property as depicted here. Thank you very much, gentlemen. That is all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
When the acting father and the biological mother would come home at 3 o'clock in the morning after the bars close is when I would hear hear children activity around the house.
We were not hanging out every night. We broke no laws.
These children, in the 50 days that they lived there, when I lived there, didn't go to school once.
He's just an antisocial person, an animal hater. Maybe mommy didn't hug him enough when he was a kid.
I just want to thank Judge Judy because justice has been served today.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Rodriguez versus Rodriguez. Step forward, please.
Office Assistant Sophia Rodriguez is suing her brother, warehouse technician Jose Rodriguez, for a lien that was put on her house. Jose says he's not responsible.
Ms. Rodriguez, the defendant is your brother.
Yes,
According to your complaint, about 5 years ago, your brother was having some financial trouble, and he was about to lose his house. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And you agreed, and he agreed, that he would turn the house over to you. Add your name to the mortgage, and it would be your house. Turn the title over to you, which he did. Is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
At the time you did this, there was no money exchanged between the two of you. Is that right?
That is correct.
Well, just recently you wanted to take out a second mortgage or
refinance the house.
Refinance the house. And you found out that there was an encumbrance on the house, that he had taken out another loan on the house more than 5 years ago, at a time when he still owned the house. And you are suing him for that money. How much of a loan did he take out?
It came out to $2,168 roughly. Approximately.
Okay, so about $2,200. And that was a lien on the house, is that right?
Right.
Right? That existed before he gave it to you.
Correct.
That you didn't know about.
That is correct, Your Honor.
Your Honor, she did know about it.
She says she didn't know about it. When did you take out this second loan, sir, on the house?
I got this loan initially when I bought the house. It was included in the closing costs. And
the down payment on the house, how much was that?
God, it's been so long I don't remember. It has to probably about $2,800 maybe total.
And you didn't put down any money?
No, she didn't.
I did not.
So why are you complaining?
I'm not complaining. I assumed the loan. When I assumed the loan, we went to the notary person, and she asked, is there any secondary loans other than 57 or 54, whatever the balance of the mortgage is? And he says no. So he signed, and I have the proof that he signed. I signed, and that's all there is showing. 5 years go by.
I want to refinance the house because the payment's too high, and they're telling me I cannot refinance until $1,700 needs to be paid.
That's why you do a title search.
Right. If I may, Your Honor.
Shh. That's why you do a title search, Miss Rodriguez. That's why when you buy a house, you have a company, because once there is a lien on the house, that is noticed to the whole world, including you, because you're part of the world, that there is a lien on the house. And if you chose to cut corners and not do that, he's not responsible. That's your problem.
But I wasn't cutting corners. I was doing him a favor,
No, you weren't doing him a favor. Don't tell me you were doing him a favor. I would complain if I were you, because what's happened now is you've got a house. You got it for $2,800 less than what your brother paid for it.
Minus 2 years that I lived there.
And he paid the mortgage for at least part of the 2 years before they were going to foreclose it. So he paid down part of the mortgage. So you're ahead of the game, Miss Rodriguez. Hey, listen to me.
No, she didn't help me.
Shh.
Yes, ma'am.
Listen to me. You're ahead of the game. I don't know why you're complaining and why you would take your brother to court.
I didn't want to take him to court. I gave him several phone calls. I called him before I even submitted the papers to the court. My mom is in between. He knows that she's upstairs. She couldn't even come with me.
That's
just for the
true.
fact that she's heartbroken.
She's not.
She shouldn't be heartbroken.
She is here with me.
Listen to me. She shouldn't be heartbroken. You should pay the $2,100 that is outstanding on this loan that he had to cover some of his closing costs and refinance your house, because the mortgage rates are much less now than they were before, which is why you're refinancing your house.
But if I would have
Listen
known.
to me. Which is much less. So you're going to be paying much less. You have a house. Your mother lives in the house with you?
Yeah, she's about to move out.
Good. Ms. Rodriguez, stop complaining.
Thanks.
Pay the
What are
money.
you gonna
That's
do?
it.
No.
Goodbye.
Ooh.
All right. Now, this is case number 60 on the calendar in the matter of Smooth versus Mora. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Mr. Smooth, Miss
Yes, ma'am.
Moore is your former girlfriend. You had a big fight. You threw each other's property in the mud, and then you claim she hit you in the face and assaulted you, and you're
Yes,
suing
ma'am.
her for that assault.
Yeah, for the punitive damages.
And
Yeah.
punitive damages.
Yeah.
Going to get to that in a minute.
Yes, ma'am.
How long was she your girlfriend?
Around 8 months.
And when did she stop being your girlfriend?
January 26th.
Is that the date of this incident?
Yes, ma'am. Well,
So-
we were never actually together, but we were dating.
What does that mean?
It means that we hadn't committed to one another as far as, are you going to be my girlfriend? Yes. Are you going to be my boyfriend? Yes. We didn't do any of that. We were just dating, going out, spending time with each other.
You weren't intimate or anything.
Yes, we were. But
It was a lot deeper than that. He's downplaying it a little bit.
Well, for you, maybe. Not for him. Listen,
Okay.
I just trying to get the vernacular of what's au courant.
Yeah.
You know,
yes, ma'am.
you were just dating, no commitment. But that doesn't mean that you're not intimate, because that's like just going out for a pizza.
No. No, ma'am.
All right. What was this argument about on the 26th of January?
Well, the morning of the argument, she had took my cell phone and went through the numbers and started contacting people on my cell phone.
The mornings. Does that mean you spent the night together?
Yes,
Where?
at my house.
She slept over at your house, and I assume she occupied the same room.
Yes, ma'am.
So while you were showering or something, she grabs your cell phone
Yes, ma'am.
and started going through the numbers.
Yes.
Sounds right to me. And what'd she find?
She came across the numbers of some friends of mine, and she...
Female friends.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
And she contacted them. And I guess when she spoke to them, she didn't hear what she wanted to hear, so she got angry at me.
Why is it that I don't have a whole bunch of sympathy for him so far?
I'm with you.
You don't have sympathy from Bert either. Then you know what that means? That means so far you're in trouble.
Okay.
But continue. Maybe you'll get there.
Well,
You look like a nice enough young man.
Yes, I am.
I'm sure you are.
After that, she took my cell phone and she refused to give it back to me. So she went outside to warm up her truck because she was going to leave. And at that time, I went outside to talk to her about getting my cell phone back, and she wouldn't give it to me. So I reached in her truck and I took the keys out the ignition. And I have a daughter, so I need to go pick my daughter up from the babysitter, so I left with the keys of her truck with me to go pick up my daughter. When I returned home, I had about 3 outfits that she bought me in the mud in front of my house, and she was gone.
Miss Moore, did you take his clothes and throw them in the mud?
Yes, ma'am, but they were all clothes that I purchased for him.
Listen to me, Miss Moore, that doesn't make any difference. You made him a gift, bought him clothes, he had a little fit, you took his clothes and you threw them in the mud. So what did you do?
So when I returned home and she's gone, I proceeded to take her truck that I had the keys to and move it around to the back of the house. So when she came back, she couldn't see her truck. She wanted to know what had happened to it. And I said, when you give me my phone, I will give you your truck. My brother arranged a swap of the keys and the phone, and she would leave the property.
Got the keys, showed her where the truck was.
She walked around the back to get her truck, and I went in the house and got her purse. And on the way outside, I slung her purse in the mud.
And what did she do when you threw her purse in the mud?
She attacked me.
How did she attack you?
She attacked me with arms flaring and no control.
Do you have any photographs of your
Yes,
injuries?
ma'am.
I'd like to see them, please. Did you hit her back?
No, ma'am.
Smart.
I would never do anything like that. Not to mention that this is 2 months after I got shot and almost lost my life, and she still thought
Who shot
it'd be
you?
right.
Shh, don't look at her. Look at me. Who shot you?
I was a victim of a violent crime. I don't know who shot me. I had surgery on my stomach, 8 hours. I'm trying to rehab from that, and...
Okay, so Mr. Smooth,
Yes, ma'am.
you were messing around while you had a girlfriend. She thought she was your girlfriend.
She
anyway.
thought I was messing around.
Yeah, well, she thought so, and she had the cell phone, and she had the numbers. I have to assume that you were not involved in a monogamous relationship with the defendant, which means she wasn't the only one. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
She got angry.
Mm-hmm.
She took your cell phone. You have no right to do that. It's his property. Take it. You're stealing it. You went in and you grabbed her car keys. You're not allowed to do that.
Right.
Then she left, and you went to pick up your
My
daughter.
daughter.
You come back, and you find your clothes in the mud. She comes back. You've moved her truck in the back just to annoy her, and you were successful.
Yes.
Then you take her good pocketbook, and you throw it in the mud. However, madam, that does not give you license to pick up your hands and to strike him and to scratch his face and to act like an alley cat. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
You are one lucky girl that he didn't have you arrested. Why didn't you have her arrested?
Because I do not dislike Siobhan.
Outrageous behavior.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You were a little morally wrong, then 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 you got physical.
And later today,
Are we finished now?
No, I'm not.
Are you finished?
Well, not really.
Are we finished now?
Okay, yeah, I'm finished from that point on.
Mark that down. He's finished.
So noted.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Justin Smooth says ex-girlfriend Siobhan Moore scratched his face during an argument.
Oh, you had some scratches and they were treated. You didn't go to the hospital or a doctor, did you?
No, ma'am.
I didn't think so. All right, so you were a little morally wrong, then 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 you got physical. Right? Unacceptable behavior.
Right.
You had no physical injury other than a few scratches on your face. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He wasn't telling the whole story, but oh well.
The proof is in the pudding. I had all the paperwork, the pictures, and I mean, those don't lie.
There wasn't a commitment of us being boyfriend and girlfriend, but monogamy was supposed to be practiced in our friendship.
I feel that we had a lot of good times together, and it was good while it lasted.
We're friends, kinda.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Phillips versus Graham, step forward, please.
26-year-old bus driver Latasha Phillips is suing neighbor, medical transport driver Keith Graham for the cost to fix her car. Keith is countersuing also for car repair costs.
Miss Phillips, you and the defendant are neighbors, is that right?
Yes.
And it is your claim that your car was hit by the defendant's car, which was being driven by a friend of his. This friend?
Yes. Correct.
And you want the defendant to pay for it because he said he would. Is that right?
Yes. No.
Mr. Graham says when he heard about the accident, he thought perhaps his friend was at fault, and he agreed to give you some money, which you took.
Correct.
And you signed a release.
I didn't sign anything.
So let's see if we can make this as brief as possible. If you signed a release, Miss Phillips...
I didn't sign anything.
If you signed a release, this case is over from your perspective.
Okay.
Mr. Graham has a counterclaim because he said, well, he subsequently found out that it wasn't his friend's fault, but he thinks it was your fault, and he wants you to pay for the damage to his car.
Yes.
Let me see the release that you say she signed.
Okay.
Who wrote out this release?
I wrote it out, Your Honor.
And who signed Latisha Phillips?
I did. I didn't sign it, I printed it. I didn't close it by signing the bottom of it. I printed my name where it said I received $200, but I never signed anything at the bottom. So between the time that he gave me the $200 and now, he could have altered it and wrote anything.
Miss Phillips?
Yes.
You explained to me about receiving this $200. Explain it to me.
When his friend hit my car, he went upstairs and got him. He came down and said, well, how do you want to handle the situation? We both agreed not to call.
No. He said to you, how do you want to handle this situation?
I said, I just want my car fixed. Those were my exact words.
I just want my car fixed. And what did he say to you?
Well, he didn't want to call his insurance company because he didn't want to go through his insurance company. So he said, well, with $200, start your payments for the car to get your car fixed. That's not true.
No, he wouldn't say that. Miss Phillips, don't play with me.
I'm not playing with you.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't say with this start getting your car fixed.
But if you read the note, it says a down payment. Oh.
No, it says payment. Not down payment. It says payment. Let me see pictures of your car, the damage to your car. Did you have it fixed?
No.
What'd you do with the $200?
I still have it.
Good.
I offered to give him the money back when I got an estimate of my car. He didn't want to do nothing.
Why did you take the $200 from him?
To take my car to the shop.
Right. And then you found that it was going to be more.
Yeah.
So you should have thought first before you signed this paper. Right?
Right.
So that was foolish of you. You thought you could have it fixed for $200. It's not a terrible, I mean, the car is clearly drivable. It just has a dent in it. $3,130 is what you're suing him for.
Because when I get my car fixed, it's going to be in the shop for like 13 days.
Why didn't you report it to your insurance?
Because why should I have to pay my deductible when it wasn't my fault?
What's your deductible?
$500.
It's better than $3,000, right?
Right.
Good. You signed a piece of paper, Miss Phillips. That's it. Now, you want to explain to me why, sir, you paid her the $200?
Okay, Your Honor, at the time my mother was sick in another state, and I trying to get out of town. When I saw the accident, I wanted it to just be over with. I came to her and asked her, how do you want to handle this? How much you think it'll take care to get your car right? She told me about $200 or $300. So after I said I had $200, will you accept that? But when you sign this, for all I'm concerned, it's over with. And she agreed to it.
I just told her it's over with, so what are you here for?
The countersuit, 2 days later, my neighbor happened to see the accident. And she said, I saw the girl looking behind her, wasn't paying attention to what she was doing when she ran into my car.
Let me see the damage to your car.
Okay, here are the pictures. There you go. I hit his car because he pulled out without looking. She was looking in the back seat, Your Honor.
Tell me your name.
My name is Rita Kreiner.
Ms. Kreiner, Tell me what you observed. I think it was on February 19th of this year.
That morning, I was waiting for transportation to take me to the doctor. As I'm looking, she came just like this, and I saw Woody was parked right in front of my step.
Go ahead, continue.
Anyway, as he started the car up, and I got out of the window, and I started looking at the news, I got back in the window again to look for the driver again, and that's when I seen her coming, and bam! And I called him later on.
Thank you. Mr. Graham, when Woody came upstairs, he spoke to you, is that right?
Right.
Woody told you it was his fault?
No, he did not.
Well, if Woody didn't tell you it was his fault, then why would you give her $200?
Like I said, my mother was sick back east. I'm trying to get out of town. I don't want to be bothered with none of this right now. I'm already upset that now I got to deal with an accident and stuff. My idea at the time was to resolve this right now.
So then why are you here on a counterclaim, sir?
Because she hit the car when I found out that she was doing something else when she hit my car.
Just a second.
Okay.
You just said to me you didn't care whose fault it was.
No.
You just wanted the whole thing to go away because you had other things on your mind. That's why you gave her the $200, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So then why are you here today?
Well, she was suing me for $3,000. So I figured, you know, she hit my car once I found out she actually wasn't paying attention. My car's still total.
Where's your insurance?
Well, I could use my insurance, but I'm thinking the same way she's thinking. Well, I'd use mine if she hit my car.
Good. Both use your insurance. Goodbye.
Okay.
Parties are excused.
Thank you, Bert.
Yeah, this is case number 57 on the calendar in the matter of Jones versus Freeze. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Mr. Jones, the defendant is your former girlfriend. You were living together for a brief period of time. How long were you actually together?
8 months.
You had some problems. The relationship was not going well. You were living together as sort of friends.
That's what?
I'm not finished. And then she got mad at something and you went out of town. She called and said, you better get yourself over here because they're changing the locks on the door and you better come over and get your stuff. And by the time you got to the apartment, the locks were changed and your stuff was gone. So you're suing her for your stuff.
Correct.
See how simple and fast I made that? Ms. Freeze says she got fed up. You were intimidating, you were overbearing, you were all those nasty things. She waited until you went out of town on the 1st of March.
Yes.
And she escaped you by moving into another apartment in the same complex. And she has none of your stuff. And she's counterclaiming because after she moved out into an apartment in the same complex, you signed a new lease in the old apartment and moved in there with your girlfriend. And after you did that, you assaulted her in the mailroom. So she's counterclaiming for an assault in the mailroom, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I'm so glad I had my cereal this morning to give me strength. Mr. Jones, what stuff did you have in the apartment that you say she kept?
I had my television, I had DVD.
Just a minute, your TV. Where's his TV?
I don't have his TV.
Well, where is it?
He had nothing when he came into this. He came into the relationship from his wife. He was married at the time. He left her, moved in with me. He had nothing. He had clothes. He had shoes.
Okay. But what's this TV that you're talking about, sir?
When I moved out of my wife's, I bought a television.
Bought a television.
Yes,
Tell me what it looked like.
It was a 27-inch Sanyo picture-in-picture television.
You have a receipt for it?
I have a copy. I bought it from my friend's pawn shop.
Oh, pawn shop. That's where he works on the weekends.
Yes.
That's where he works every Saturday.
This is true. I have a receipt. It's a duplicate receipt of all the things that I had. Plus, I have a list here of the other things that I got from my wife's house that we agreed when we divorced.
Like what?
I got a DVD player from the house. I got about 60 DVD movies, VHS movies. I have a tent, which she took, and she took things out of the cabinet that really didn't pertain to her that was mine.
Well, let me ask you this question, sir. You
Yes.
think she still has the 27-inch TV?
I don't know, because she had a television.
So what do you think she did with it?
I don't know. After this happened...
I don't know either.
I don't know if she sold it or what.
She said she doesn't have it.
If she gave it to her friends that helped her move out of there.
Maybe.
Because when we got together...
When did you get the call, sir, to come and get your stuff?
I got it March the 1st, approximately 1:15 to 1:30.
In the afternoon?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And when did you get over there?
I made it back to Oklahoma City about 3:30 to 4.
And what happened when you got back there?
I went directly to the leasing office.
And?
and filled out a new lease.
I'm asking you, did you go to your apartment on March 1st?
Yes, after I stopped at the leasing
And
office.
what was there?
That was my clothes.
Clothes?
Some of my clothes.
What you brought into the relationship.
She had took some of my other clothes, but I had some clothes left hanging up in the closet.
And other than that, there was nothing there?
Correct.
Okay. Miss Freeze?
Yes, ma'am.
He lived there for 8 months.
Yes, ma'am.
He didn't live there with just his clothes. There were other things that he had there, even if they were little knickknacks, because he was in a marriage and he took some things from the marital home. There's no question in my mind that he did that. I want you to understand that.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, other than his clothes, what happened to all those little knickknacks that he had?
I left everything there that was his.
Well, what you say was his is not necessarily what I'm going to say is his. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Now, what things did you take that you thought might be yours, but there might be some issue as to whether they were his?
A computer would be the only thing.
Okay.
A computer.
So a computer. Now, tell me about the computer.
We purchased this computer together. He paid half, I paid half.
And how much was the half he paid for?
$245.
Is that right, sir?
Correct.
So that you definitely owe him.
Yes, because I took the computer.
Oh. Now, what else of the knickknacks? Tent?
I don't have his tent.
The question is not whether you have it. The question was, on what date did you move out of the apartment?
March the 1st.
On March the 1st, was his tent there?
Yes. Yes.
What happened to it?
It's still there as far as I know. I did nothing with his tent.
So what you're suggesting is that the people who came in and changed the locks stole his property?
I don't know what they did.
Well, if you didn't take it,
I don't
and
have
the only people that had access to the apartment were the people who were changing the locks, you are suggesting that the management or others stole his property. So that what I'm going to suggest that you do, Mr. Jones, is she says she left all of that property there. She's not denying that the tent was there. And I assume the other things that he's questioning too.
Yes, I took nothing of his. He came in. He came in with clothes. He came in with personal hygiene. Yes,
Miss
ma'am.
Freeze, we're not going to play with each other because he's going to go to the police department and he's going to file a criminal complaint against other people. And I want to get your statement absolutely 100% clear down, pat, so you have no wiggle room 2 weeks from now when the police come to investigate this alleged theft. You are saying that you left his property, including his tent and all other belongings, in the house. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
You left those all in the house?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
So that the landlord stole them, is that right?
I'm not saying the landlord stole them. I'm saying they're still there.
No. I don't believe you. How's that? How's that?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How come you were helping your employee move?
We saw a abused woman. Damn, she came and asked us.
And later today,
Nicholas took me through so much.
Listen to me. I have a short life. I'm not interested in what Nicolette has taken you through. I'm interested in the $1,300 for the car. Get to it.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Alan Jones claims ex-girlfriend Brenda Freeze disposed of his belongings. Brenda says Alan is an abusive man.
First you tell me that he moved in with nothing other than his clothes. Then with a little more prodding, we've got the fact, well, there was a tent there, but I left it. And then with a little more prodding, because you don't remember what you said 5 minutes ago, he did have his DVDs there. That's a far cry from he had nothing but the clothes on his back that he walked in with. Who are you?
I'm her employer, Judge.
You didn't take her stuff.
No, sir.
Perfect. You didn't help her move, did you?
Yes.
Oh, you did? Yes. You're her employer from, what kind of work does she do?
We own a computer business, Daystar.
We own? Who owns?
Oh, I said we, me and my partners.
Okay, and what does the defendant do for you?
Manager, general manager.
And how come you were helping your employee move?
We saw a abused woman. Damn, she came and asked us. She asked us.
You want to run that by me again. Why did you help your employee to move?
She came and said she was in an abusive relationship, which you guys helped me. We helped.
Did you take his DVDs?
No, ma'am.
Who's the we?
One guy works with us, his son.
Oh, maybe they took his DVDs and his tent.
No, ma'am. We just
I don't know that at all.
We just grabbed heavy stuff.
I don't know that at all. You understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes, yes.
I'm glad you understand what I'm saying to you, sir. Because an abused woman does not move into the same apartment complex. If she's coming to you and asking for you to help her, she wants to get as far away from him as possible.
I didn't want to lose that money that I had put up because the lease was in my name.
If you're scared to death and you're asking somebody to move, then you
Why
don't
would he
move
stay
to a
there?
place where he knows. That's why abused women, they go to a shelter, they move to another town, they move to another street.
I didn't figure he could afford to stay there.
Well, you figured wrong. All right, now tell me about this assault in the mailroom.
Oh, I went to go check my mail. When I was checking my mail, I heard someone punch the code to come in. When I turned and looked, it was Alan.
And?
He came over, he grabbed my arms. When I was trying to get away from him, I don't know if I slipped or what, but when I went down, I hit my forehead. Knotted up pretty good.
Well, he didn't push you down.
He didn't push me. He grabbed me, though, by my arms, and I was trying to get away from him.
Show me how he grabbed you by the arms on this gentleman. Show me.
He come in the door. He come in the door, and he grabbed me.
Like that. And what did he say when he grabbed you?
Well,
tell me what he said to you.
He said, give me my stuff back.
Is that what you said to her?
No, ma'am.
Well, tell me what happened in the mailroom.
Ma'am, I do not know. I made it home about 4:15 that day. The mailman was still there putting up mail. I went to my apartment, and then I laid down on the couch, thinking nothing about it. I was laid there watching television. And then around 7:15, I got a knock at the door. It was police. They asked me if I was Alan Jones. I said yes. And they said, you're under arrest. I said, for what? And then the officer, she proceeded to tell me that your ex-girlfriend, Brenda Freed, said you beat her up in the mailroom. I hadn't seen Brenda that day.
You have the complaint?
I have.
Let me see. I'd like to see a copy of what she said to the police.
Oh, I don't. All I got when I got released
I'd like
from
to see
jail.
a copy of your complaint. You have a copy of your complaint?
No, ma'am, I don't. I wasn't able
Why
to
not?
get that before I left town.
Well, then I'm not interested. I want to see what you told the police. According to you, he said, give me back my stuff.
Yes.
And then you slipped.
Well, I was trying to get away from his grasp.
You slipped.
I don't know that.
You don't know that, but he didn't hit you.
No, he grabbed me. I had
Shh,
bruises.
listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you tell the police that he beat you up?
I told him he grabbed me.
Did you tell the police he beat you up?
No, ma'am.
Okay, but you don't have proof of that. Is that what you were told, that she
Yes,
said
ma'am.
we beat you up? I'm dismissing your counterclaim. But I do find that you took some of his property. He values the property at $4,500. I don't know whether it's worth $4,500 or not, and I'm not looking at the receipts that your friend gave you where you work at the pawn shop. Do you understand, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
But I believe she took some of your DVDs. How many did you have?
I had approximately 110 to 110, 120.
And what about the DVD player?
There was 3 of them.
What did you do with 3 DVD players?
Well, I got 2 from work, and then I got 1 from my house, from my ex-wife's.
Well, how many TVs were in the house?
There was 2.
And what was a spare?
1 was actually on the brink, yes.
And tell me about this tent that you had that she acknowledges was there.
It was a 2-room tent.
Where'd you get it from?
I bought it from Walmart.
How much did you pay for it?
It was on clearance. It was like $49, but it was priced at $90.
I don't pay you for the value
Right.
of it, sir. I pay, if I'm going to pay you anything,
Okay.
it's what you paid for it. And when did you buy it?
When did I buy it?
Why do you keep repeating
I didn't hear you.
Well, you did hear me.
When I bought it in 2000, year 2000.
You know, you two fibbers really deserve each other. But
He's got a new girlfriend now.
what?
He moved his girlfriend in the day I moved out.
Well, that's
So,
a good thing.
That is
You
a
know,
good thing. Good for
that's
her.
That's a good thing. Anyway, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. I think that probably all your property is worth that, not the $4,500 that you claim. That's all. Your counterclaim is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I didn't get what I wanted, but justice is served.
He abused me through the whole relationship, and he didn't have what he said.
She's psycho. She's a crook.
I told him I wanted to leave, but he told me he didn't want me to because he couldn't afford to stay there by himself.
She's fruitier than a Fruit Loop.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Rogers versus Munyon. Step forward, please.
19-year-old student Brittany Rogers is suing her former roommate, 21-year-old student Rachel Munyon, for unpaid rent, household costs, and damages to the apartment. Brittany says during a drunken episode, Rachel fell through their screen door.
Miss Rogers, you and the defendant were roommates. You claim she owes you for first month's rent on the apartment, which she never paid. She owes you her half of some household items that you purchased when you moved into the apartment, and that she caused some damage to the apartment in a temper tantrum, and you want her to pay for that too because you had that deducted from security.
That's correct.
Miss Munyon says she was totally paid up in her rent. She doesn't owe you a dime. You used a stolen credit card to pay for the household items, and that she never caused any damage to the apartment.
Yes.
Okay. When did you move in together?
We moved in halfway through June of 2003, and I paid the first months of the rent. It was a partial month of $777.
Okay, first month's rent, $777. So?
I paid $277 of that, and she paid $500 of that.
How did you pay the $277?
We wanted to get an apartment together, and her parents wouldn't sign, so my dad signed the lease so we could move in. And my dad told her that if he signed the lease, that she would pay the $500 and that I would pay the rest of the $277.
Don't speak.
That I would pay the rest of the $277.
So your father, I'm speaking. So your father, in effect, took a fee for co-signing.
Yeah, they made an agreement.
Oh, step up, sir. You're the father. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you take a fee for co-signing for this apartment?
I didn't take a fee to co-sign for the apartment. What I did was we had a verbal agreement that if I co-signed for the apartment, Brittany would be responsible for the deposit on the apartment.
For the deposit? Shut up! Sorry. If you co-signed that she'd be responsible for the security deposit. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
How much was the security deposit?
$750.
Who paid that?
I did.
Good. Well, that was your agreement, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Well, your daughter got the story a little bit confused. Thank you very much. You may be seated now.
Okay.
Listen to me. Your father's agreement had nothing to do with paying $500 and you paying $277. Your father said that he would co-sign for the apartment. The condition of his co-signing for the apartment would be that the plaintiff put down the security deposit. Period. So you were confused.
Okay.
Let's go to next. Household goods. Did you use a stolen credit card to purchase the household goods?
No, I have my bank statements right here showing the places.
Well, tell me what you know about the stolen credit card, my dear, because she didn't make this up out of nowhere, I don't think.
There was a stolen credit card, and I did purchase items on a stolen credit card, which I was criminally prosecuted for, and I served my 6 months probation and did my community service for that.
Who'd you steal the credit card from?
A girl that I went to high school with. It was a back and forth thing. She stole money from me. I stole that from her. It was between me and her.
Wonderful. Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Every Tuesday, he was supposed to pay me $50.
Does that sound familiar, sir?
Yes.
Good. That's all you had to say. Yes, sounds right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Brittany Rogers says ex-roommate Rachel Munyon owes for rent, unpaid household costs, and damages to their apartment. Brittany says Rachel has a drinking problem.
All right, let's go to the damage to the home.
Rachel has a big drinking problem. At first, when we moved in together, I was under the impression that she had kind of cleaned up her act. She told me this total story about her boyfriend and all this.
Just give me a break. Would you just tell me what she damaged?
So basically, she got really drunk and she fell through the screen door and broke it in our apartment complex.
Well, tell me exactly what happened.
We just had some friends over. We'd all been kind of drinking, and Rachel, I mean, obviously she's kind of a small person. She can't take that much, and she just gets really drunk and starts freaking out, screaming.
Just tell me what happened to the door.
She just fell through the door. She just fell through it. I mean.
Did you hurt yourself?
No, I didn't fall through the door.
And you say you didn't fall through the door?
The screen door was only off the track, and there was like a little rip at the top.
Well, how'd that happen?
Just from people going in and out of it. I mean, we're both young. We both had people over there at the time.
All right, what else?
And also, when she was really drunk, I actually had traffic school the next morning, and she was.
What'd you have traffic school for?
I was going 46 in a 35 zone, and she was, drunk again, coming in my room, bugging me. I told her to get out. She comes and flings my door open and pushed it against the wall so hard that the door stopper went through the door and put a hole in it.
So did you fix it?
The landlord fixed it and charged me for it.
Let me see. Why didn't you fix it?
I didn't really know how
to do it. You get a little thing in a tube, you put it in the wall, you go like this, and you fix it.
The landlord fixed it.
Refinished second bedroom door stained with unknown white substance. What was that?
That was from a shoe rack that she had over the door that left the paint.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Who lost their pool key?
She lost the pool key. There were 2 pool keys. We had a pool key that didn't work.
We only received one.
And she called the landlord for another one, and he sent us another one. And he wanted me to return both of them at the end, but she did something with the first one.
You have a pool key? You don't know where it is?
No.
Okay. As far as the items that you purchased for the house, and you say that she owes you for half, I'm not going to be able to distinguish what you purchased with a stolen credit card.
It was not with a stolen credit card. It's with this right here.
Sure, let me take a look at it.
They're all highlighted for you. We went together, and she agreed with me together that as soon as we got the computer in the house, that she was going to type up an agreement, and, oh, Brittany, I promise I'm going to get a job. No, she just got drunk and went out and...
I had a job the whole time I lived at
She did not have a job at all when she was there.
I had a job
She stayed
the
at
whole
home and
time.
watched TV, and that's why her father put the cable in his name, because I was working 2 jobs and going to school, and I didn't have time to watch cable.
I
And
had
she
a
just
job
wanted to
the
sit
whole
at home
time that we
and watch
lived there.
TV all day and do nothing.
Did you go with her to Safeway stores on June the 9th, where she purchased stuff in the amount of $626?
The thing is that she told me that she was going to use the credit card that her aunt gave us to get the initial things that we needed for the apartment, and then we could pay her aunt back in $50 increments. And then when we got to Safeway, the
That's
credit
not
card
true.
was declined. And the reason it was declined is because the card that Brittany stole was like a Discover or something that Safeway didn't accept. And I told Brittany, you know I don't have the money right now because I just moved down here, I just got a job, so I would prefer if we go to another store where they do take Discover, American Express, or whatever it was. And she said, no, Rachel, don't worry about it. And I was like, okay. So my dad would bring me over food, and I would just eat the food that my dad brought.
Oh, no. Listen to me. Listen to what you just said.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You just said that she had a stolen credit card that you knew about.
No, I didn't know about it.
That you knew it was somebody else's credit card, but they didn't take that credit card at one store that you went to, so you were going to go to a different store. You didn't go to a different store. You stayed at this store, and the amount of $626 wasn't listen to me, was an amount that was purchased for the 2 of you, and you agreed to pay her back.
No, I did not agree to pay her back for those groceries. I agreed to pay her aunt back in $50 increments.
Listen to me. You agreed that you would be responsible for half that bill, only you said you were going to give it back to her aunt. Well, she didn't use her aunt's card. She used her card. So explain to me, what's the difference?
I told her that I didn't want to because I didn't have half of that $300.
You just told me. Listen to me. You just told me you didn't have it then, whether it was her money or her aunt's money. And you said you would agree to give her aunt back $50 installment payments.
Correct. But Brittany wanted the $300 up front.
No, I let her pay me increments. I actually arranged it with her father, and her father said that, oh, you know, Brittany, don't worry. You know, I know Rachel, and, you know, if she doesn't take care of stuff, I will. He paid me one $50 money order.
Does that sound familiar, sir?
Yes.
Good. That's all? That's all you had to say.
And
yes, sounds right.
And then the next week, Billy, where's my money? Oh, I don't have the money this week. Okay, that's fine. Call him next week. Billy, where's my money? Oh, I don't have the money this next week. So.
I gotcha. You're right. 773, judgment for the plaintiff. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. Yes, case number 161 on the calendar in the matter of Barton versus Chandler.
Thank you, Bird.
You're quite welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Ms. Barton, you were selling a car.
Yes.
The defendant came to look at the car, and she came with a friend, and you allowed her to take the car out for test drive. Mm-hmm. She had an accident with the car, and you want her to pay for your out-of-pocket expense. Yes. Ms. Chandler says that your insurance company should have taken care of it, so she doesn't know why she's here. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What kind of car were you selling, Ms. Barton?
It was a 1994 Honda Prelude. This is what it looked like at the time.
And how much were you selling it for?
At the time when she had talked to my husband about buying the car, I think they had agreed on $6,500.
What date did she come over to take a look at it?
On August 8th.
And who did she come with?
With both of the 2 boys that are there.
With these 2 young men?
And a little girl.
Whose little girl?
Jason's.
How old is your daughter?
She's 5 now.
Did they all take the car out for a test run?
No, just her and the first one there.
What's your name?
Jesse.
Jesse what?
Kerbo.
What time did they take the car out?
It was in the evening, Probably around 5 or 6 o'clock.
Did you ask her if she had a driver's license?
I asked, and she said she had a driver's license. She said she worked actually at a car dealership moving their cars around. And I actually asked her to leave the car that she came in and one of the people with me. I was actually more worried about maybe them just taking the car.
Okay, so she left the car that they came in, and she left this young man and his 5-year-old as hostage.
Yes.
Right? Okay. And they came back how much later?
They did not come back.
What happened?
After about a half hour, when I was very worried, he finally managed to get a hold of him on their cell phone, and they said that they had run the car into a ditch. So I borrowed my sister's car and went looking for them. And when I found them, actually they had run off the road probably 50 feet, and the car was about 3 feet off the ground, stuck between 2 trees. And it was completely totaled.
Did you report it to your insurance company?
Yes, and I actually have a police report and pictures.
Okay, there's no question that she totaled the car. Is that right, Miss Chandler? There's no question that you totaled the car. Okay. Now you can tell me what happened with your insurance company.
Okay, the first thing we did was we filed it with her insurance. And her insurance said that in our state, insurance follows the car. Well, our insurance company was going to pay us for the car and then file for subrogation and get the money back from her or her insurance.
Correct.
But after several months of dealing with the insurance company and after they had already paid for the car, they found out that also, again, with the Georgia law, because she had permission to drive the car, our insurance company could not get money back from her and we had to do it ourselves.
Right.
And our premiums have gone up and the wreck is on our record. We can't even get written with another insurance policy.
Right. Your insurance company's absolutely right. So why are we here?
I just don't feel that it's right that she could take my car and in a reckless manner destroy it and just walk away from it and say,
I don't disagree.
Sorry about that.
I don't disagree with you. Ms. Barton, first let me hear from Ms. Chandler. What happened when you took the car for a test drive? Tell me about this ghost car that made you have an accident.
The van's a pretty big ghost car. It was a big white van.
Yes.
And it was coming around the corner too fast, and he was in my lane because he couldn't make it. He couldn't make the turn. And I went to the side of the road. The road was uneven. It caught the tire, spun me in the other lane, which was the failure to remain in lane. And then I oversteered and it went into the woods.
Nobody noticed any skid marks or anything else of another car.
They didn't stop. They kept going. They just came around the corner and just kept going.
How old are you?
20 years old.
You ever been in an accident before?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Barton, let me tell you what your problem is. You did give her permission to drive the car. You do not have any hard evidence that she was driving in a reckless manner. What?
The pictures will show that. The pictures.
I'll take a look at what pictures
and the
you
police
have.
report says that she was on the wrong side of the road.
That may be. The police weren't there.
These are the pictures of what the damage to the car.
The police weren't there, Miss Barton. And the police took the report, your car is totaled. I gather your car is totaled. I see your car is totaled. What does that have to do with anything?
Oh,
they totaled your car.
Yes, and she didn't apparently even hit the brakes. She just went off the road 50 feet and never even stopped.
Ms. Barton, do you think that she intentionally, with her and a passenger, almost killed herself?
No,
you
I
think
don't
she
think-
intentionally did that?
I don't think she did it intentionally, no. But she was driving too fast. She was speeding.
She may have been driving too fast.
I didn't receive a
And if
speeding
you,
ticket.
listen to me.
It says
And
too
if-
fast for
Ms.
conditions.
Barton, you have to listen to me, madam. And if she were driving too fast, and instead of just totaling your car, if she hit another car and killed somebody, you know who would be liable? You. When you give a stranger permission to drive your car, you assume the risk of how that stranger is going to operate your vehicle. And you had a choice, Miss Barton. I'm not excusing the fact that she may have been going too fast, that she may have been in another lane, that she may have negligently driven this car. I don't believe she recklessly drove it because she doesn't look like a nut and she doesn't look like she was trying to kill herself.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
You still do that kind of work?
Yes, I do.
It's a terrible idea.
It pays well.
The whole business smells.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rachel Barton says 20-year-old Stephanie Chandler totaled her Honda Prelude during a test drive. Rachel is alleging that Stephanie drove the car recklessly.
Okay, so the only out-of-pocket expense that you have now are the raised premiums, which is really what you're suing for.
And the deductible?
What was the deductible?
$500.
Well, that's a different story. That, I believe, Miss Chandler is responsible for.
Your Honor.
What?
I have the Kelly Blue Book value, and I have the amount that the Bartons received, and they received over $1,500 over the Kelly Blue Book value for their vehicle.
Let me see. Otherwise, you would be responsible for the $500 deductible. Wouldn't you say that that was fair?
We offered it in the beginning.
And then refused
did.
to pay when I called her and told her that our insurance was not going to cover that.
You received $7,097.55?
Yes.
Well, you just told me that you were going to sell the car for $6,500. So you got $600 more than that.
Yes.
Ms. Barton, you have to accept responsibility that when you turn a car over to a stranger, you are placing yourself and your bank accounts and your property at risk. If she's in an accident, you are responsible, and your insurance company paid you because they knew you were responsible, and her insurance company didn't pay because she had permission to drive your car. And absent a showing that there was no issue, that she recklessly drove the car, which I don't believe you've been able to establish, you don't have a case, Ms. Barton. And you got more for the car than what you were planning to sell for, so I'm not going to charge her for the deductible. I don't believe she's faultless, but I think that if she did offer to give you the $500 deductible, that was at least a showing that she felt as if she did the wrong thing, or that she was at least partially responsible. But that's what we have insurance for. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I really don't think it was fair that she was able to destroy my car and not have to pay 1 cent.
I oversteered trying to catch the car from where it dipped off the road.
She was totally responsible and had got to walk away scot-free.
I thought I was going to kill my boyfriend.
I told her at the time I was glad there's no injuries. Neither one of them had a scratch on them, and I was glad for that. It would have just made it more complicated.
I was in love with that car. I thought I was taking it home that day.
It was a fast little car.
After all this, I don't feel bad at all.
House cleaner Pamela Earle is suing ex-boyfriend, painter Brian Mays, for an assault. Brian is countersuing for the return of his belongings.
Quiet in the courtroom, please. Now, this is case number 140 on the calendar in the matter of Earle versus Mays. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Miss Earle, you and the defendant were sort of in a relationship, I gather, and you moved in with him along with, I think, your children. It is your claim that he became abusive, that you had to flee the apartment, that he owes you for rent because you paid the rent, that he assaulted you, you want to be compensated, that he kept some of your personal property, you want it back. Mr. Mays says that he was really nothing but nice to you, that you had a drug problem. Is that right?
Yes.
And that you were incarcerated at least twice when you were living with him, that he took care of your children, he enrolled them in school, that on the day of the alleged assault, you in fact assaulted him. He's got the police reports to prove it. And he is counterclaiming because he says that when you left the apartment, you stole some property that belonged to him. When did you meet Mr. Mays, Miss Earle?
In December at court. We met at the courthouse.
You met at the courthouse?
Yes, we did. I was moving from my condo. I had just sold it, and I was looking for a place to live, and me and Mr. Mays were kind of dating, but we weren't, like, going out together.
You met him in December. When did you move in with him?
In February. Me and my 2 children moved in with him.
How old are your children?
12 and 13 at the time.
What kind of a drug problem do you have?
I don't anymore. I did have a glass, speed, meth, and so does the defendant.
Where is the father of these 2 children?
In Fullerton. They live in Fullerton. My children are with their father right now.
Good. Are they there pursuant to a court order?
Now they are, yes.
Now, what was your arrangements with regard to rent? Your rent was $450 a month, according to your complaint?
Yes, ma'am.
And you paid him the rent for April, according to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what happened in April.
My birthday was on the 6th of April. We went to Vegas. We had returned. Me and Brian were having a lot of problems.
Did you look at me?
We were doing drugs at the time. I mean, I must admit I was fully into the drugs with the defendant at the time. I had recently sold my house, so I did have quite a bit of money. The night before in question, all this happened, I had went to the bank in the evening and took out, I believe it was approximately $2,500. I went out that evening and spent like $1,000 on drugs.
Where were your children?
That's a good question. They were with their father at the time. They had returned that night when I had come home. I was very sick at the time. I didn't even do anything. I was very sick. I came in the house and I pretty much laid down. That whole evening, Brian tried to start fights with me. He knew I had money, or he knew I had something, or whether money, drugs, I'm not sure. When I had gotten up that morning to get my kids ready for school, I remember I'd parked my car in front of the house instead of in our driveway in the back. And I went to go move my car and get my money. I had a lot of problems with him. I
don't want to hear about all your problems. You left your money in the car? Is that what you're telling me?
So when I came back in, he grabbed me by the throat, took my money. We were fighting. He held me down. If I remember right, I got a couple good punches in there because he did hold me. I mean, I think I did get it. So he grabbed the phone, dialed 911. And the bottom line is he totally beat me up. This guy is 6'2". He beat me up, took my money.
Report?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see the police report?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't have the report, do you?
I was not there.
You have photographs of your injuries?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
No, I'm talking to her. Do you have
I tried to get him. I couldn't get him through the courthouse, through my public defender.
You were charged with assault? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, and I was arrested, but they dropped charges.
But you were arrested?
Yes, definitely.
Well, this is a copy of an incident that happened on April 23rd.
It must be some of the other paperwork that you have there.
Yeah, well, this has to do with Miss Earl assaulting a police officer on April 23rd after she attempted to get her children out of school. And there was a restraining order. You understand that there was a restraining order at that time preventing you from being within 100 yards of your children.
Yes, but I did not know that at the time.
Well, then you knew it. You found out.
Yes, I did.
All right, good. Here we go, on Tuesday, April 8th.
Yes, ma'am.
There we go. Well, your two sons say that they heard Mr. Mays beg you to please move your car that you had parked in the street so that he could get his car out of the driveway to go to work. Begged you over and over again. You were so blitzed out on speed, you probably don't remember that. But your two sons remember that you hit him twice. He hit you not once. That's according to your own sons.
I know.
All
It was
right.
6 o'clock
So what do you want? What do you want from me?
My kids did not see him grab me by the neck and grab my purse and take my money from me.
Miss Earl, if you want to have a clear picture of what happens, you have to have a clear mind.
Yes.
When you are living your life in a drug-induced stupor, which you were on the night of April 8th.
Yes, ma'am.
I can't rely on anything that you say to me. Do you understand?
Okay.
Good. So I don't know what it is that you want. You're not going to get any money for an assault because the only thing that I have is a police report indicating that you assaulted him. That's all I have.
You can't tell just by looking at this guy he can beat the crap out of me?
I want to tell you something else. When somebody is spinning around the world on speed, they think they have the strength of 10 people. According to your own sons, he stood up and said to you, hit me if you have to. You hauled off and you hit him once and then you punched him again on the other side of his face. That's what your two sons said. He certainly, according to the police, has a history of domestic violence.
Oh, yeah, he was arrested. He was arrested.
So
right
were
then and
you.
there, but not
You were
then and
also arrested 2 weeks later in school when you made a scene and assaulted a couple of cops who went to get you away from your children's school.
I was never assaulted, no cops. I had
sure
never.
you were. You want me to read what the police officers say?
Please, yes.
Oh, sure. I'll be
I've
delighted.
never heard it.
I'll be delighted. Officers Tucker and Harris arrested Earl for her involvement in their case. On my way to the jail, Earl began to kick the back of my seat and call me profanities, such as a She seemed irrational and very upset as she was being arrested. Okay. Want me to go on?
No, but that's not...
That's what you did to police officers. That's what you did to police officers.
You said I assaulted a police officer. That was calling him a... That's not assaulting somebody. That's not punching somebody. My God.
She told me that she had been sick all night from crashing on meth high. She went on to say that she was addicted to the drug and was coming down from being awake and under the influence of the drug for approximately 3 days.
Sure. But that doesn't say I assaulted a police officer, man.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It didn't say that you assaulted a police officer. It said you were a rational human being.
Oh,
Okay, I have
sure
absolutely
I
no
was.
evidence. I have absolutely no evidence that you were assaulted by the defendant. What you were suing for is the return of your rent because you paid April's rent, and as of April 8th, you were no longer in the house. And I find that you caused that yourself by assaulting the defendant, so you are not entitled to any rent back for April. Your personal property. Do you have any of her personal properties?
What?
Is not an answer. I expect an answer from you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I left what was left out in the back, and she had come by with some friends and picked that up. There's a couple things that are left.
What's
Dead
left?
on arrival?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Who was arrested the night of the 10th?
I was.
For what?
Because they found some of the plaintiff's paraphernalia in the
Oh my God. He is my drug dealer.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Pamela Earle says ex-boyfriend Brian Mays beat her up in a fit of rage. Brian claims it was Pamela who beat him up.
Put that down. What's left?
There's a box sitting back there. I don't know what it is.
Fine, but it's all boxed.
Yes.
Who is this person?
This is a witness that saw what was going on and watched her move the stuff out and take some things of mine.
Does he live next door?
He's my roommate. He was my roommate at the time.
All of our roommates, Your Honor.
Okay. All I want to know is where can she go to pick up her boxes? You want to take it to a local precinct at a set time?
It's right across the street. That'd be fine, Your Honor.
Fine. We'll give you a date.
He's going to have dead on arrival on all my crap,
Miss
Your
Earle,
Honor.
I want you to be very quiet. I'm losing patience with you very slowly. You want your property back. Whatever he has, he is going to bring to the police station 5 days from today's date. You can go and pick it up there. If you're not there 5 days from today's date, they're going to throw it out. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Now, you want to tell me what property you claim she stole from the house, sir?
I have a list of everything.
Oh, my God.
What's a family lanyard?
They're trading pins that me and my children had collected through the years going to Disneyland on our trips.
Your Honor, I only got a pack of cigarettes from the guy. That's the only thing I took.
You see, when you use drugs, you find it hard to control yourself.
That's my... Oh,
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Step up.
Those are
Mr.
my
Mays,
drug
have you been in a drug rehab program?
Yes, I have.
When was the last time you were in rehab?
Early 2002.
For how long?
14 months.
But then you fell off the wagon, Mr. Mays.
Yes, he did.
No, ma'am.
Oh,
yes,
sure
he
you
did.
Sure you did. You know how I know that you did?
How's that?
Very easy. Because if you didn't, you wouldn't have taken her into your house. Because if you're in a program for 14 months and you want to stay clean, you don't pick up a drug addict in a courthouse and say, come on to my house. That's how I know. You understand each other?
I was trying to help.
I'm not interested in your being a knight in shining armor for this drug addict.
Yes, ma'am.
You may sound better.
You
may sound better than she does, but the drug rehab program didn't work, Mr. Mays. Did you see her take any property from the house? Look at me.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your name?
John River. Sorry.
You ever in drug rehab?
Yes, Your Honor.
When did you leave for the last time?
3 years ago, Your Honor.
Tell me about what you saw Miss Earle take from Mr. Mays' home.
She came in approximately 9 or so at night while Mr. Mays was
What date?
Still incarcerated. I think that was the 12th.
What was he arrested for?
It was part of the domestic violence. So
Who was arrested the night of the 10th?
I was.
Yes, he was.
For what?
Because they found some of the plaintiff's paraphernalia in the
Oh, my God. He is my drug dealer,
found
Your
what?
Honor.
paraphernalia.
And so they took you away?
Yes,
Yeah.
they did.
Go ahead.
So when I came home that morning, house was in disarray. Saw a domestic violence pamphlet, so I proceeded to call the police station. Found out that Mr. Mays was incarcerated. About 4 o'clock in the afternoon, her boys showed up. I allowed them to take their property, their bikes, their father. About 9 o'clock at night, she showed up, and I let her take what I thought was hers. There was a brown folder that I believe had stamps in it. The Disney pins that were around the necklace, I did see those.
You did?
Yes.
Where did you see those?
They were hanging in the kid's room.
Did you have children living with you?
No, I do not.
What's a Gerber knife?
It's just a utility knife, like a...
What's a green bottle?
It's something that we picked up when we were in Vegas.
Mr. Mays.
Yes, ma'am.
This is nonsense. This is nonsense, Mr. Mays. We're not talking about anything. We're talking about a Smith & Wesson knife.
That was given to me by my brother in 1981. It was inscribed at Christmas. And,
so what do you want from me? You think she still has it? If she took it, you think she still has it? You think she knows where it is? You think she knows where it is? Mr. Mays, you should have been smart enough after being out of rehab for a few months and having been there 14 months not to pick somebody up who was a drug addict in a courthouse and bring him into your home. That was pretty dumb. You're lucky that all she took were a couple of pairs of sunglasses and a couple of kitchen knives. That's all. Your counterclaim is dismissed. As far as your claim is concerned, Ms. Earl,
yes,
I have absolutely no proof that he assaulted you. I have absolutely no proof that he owes you any rent. You chose to leave that day. You fled. You were high on drugs. You acknowledged that you took out $2,500 from the bank to go out and buy $1,000 worth of drugs, leaving your children home unsupervised because, according to you, they came home at some point that evening and you were dead to the world. I have absolutely no sympathy for you. All I can suggest to you is you have a responsibility. If you make 2 children, you're supposed to be a reasonable parent. Stop worrying about the past. Stop worrying about a couple of dollars that you paid and didn't use in rent. Start worrying about being a reasonable parent. And you, sir?
Ma'am, even though he witnessed her take the stuff, it's worth
no,
nothing.
he didn't. But listen to me. He said he saw her take a folder that he assumed had stamps in it. That's what he said. He said he saw her take a lanyard that was in the boys' room.
That was my kids' room, too, when they came over and stayed there.
He said they were in the boys' room, is what he said.
Yes.
My kids, when they come to visit me, they stay in that room.
No, that was the room I rented, ma'am.
Listen to me. That's what he said. You didn't say anything about a Smith & Wesson knife, did you?
No.
Good. All right. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They're both drug dealers, both of them.
I never dealt no drugs to her. I never sold her any dope.
Trust me, if he says I beat the shit out of him, he's a wimp. Dude's a wimp.
She needs help.
Yeah.
Coffeehouse assistant manager Janice Allen is suing her late brother's friends, casino dealer Allison Cavey, and her fiancé, mortgage broker Gaetano Harris, for the return of a television. Janice says the TV belonged to her brother before he died.
Come to order, all rise. Hello? Shh. Yeah, this is case number 262 in the matter of Allen versus K.V. Harris.
Thank you.
Quite welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Allen, you had a brother who recently passed away, rather young, I assume. He had diabetes and he went into a diabetic coma. The defendants were friends of his, and according to your complaint, they took a television set at your request when they were cleaning out his apartment. You said that you wanted $800 for the television set. They say that they were good friends, they did an awful lot of things for your brother, and that they can't believe that you are actually suing them for this $800 for this television set. When were you notified that your brother was hospitalized?
I was in the Caribbean at the time when he was hospitalized.
You were on vacation?
Right, with my son. I didn't find out when he was in a coma until July 3rd when he was.
When did he go to the hospital?
The prior Thursday before that July 3rd is when I found him in the diabetic coma. 2 or 3 days before she even knew her brother was in a coma.
How many siblings are there?
Well, there was 4, now there's 3.
Where are your parents?
My mom passed away last year, and I haven't seen my dad really for 23 years. He showed up for my brother's memorial, and that was it.
How old was your brother?
He was 30.
Was he ever married?
No.
Did he have any children?
No, he didn't.
Did he leave a will?
No, he didn't.
Tell me, Miss Allen, how it came about that the defendants got possession of this television set.
Gaetano had stated to me that
Who's Gaetano?
Right here, Your Honor.
Gaetano said that he wanted...
He had talked to my brother Billy on the 25th of June. That was a Friday, the day that I left for the Caribbean. Gaetano had stated that my brother wanted me to have the TV if anything were to happen to him.
Is that what you told her?
Yes, it was.
He had also some really high powered gas RC cars, and he said that Gaetano was to have those.
I don't know what an RC car is.
Remote control gas-powered cars.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm just telling
thank you. Okay, and according to you, her brother had said that he wanted his sister, this sister, to have the TV. Now, that's not necessarily binding, but it's something that he said to you.
Right. That is correct.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so when we sat and we were clearing out Billy's apartment, we had a 32-inch TV that Billy had given to me. I told her that Billy wanted her to have the big screen. Her reaction was, I don't want the big screen. It doesn't fit in my apartment. So I said, why don't you take the 32-inch and we'll take the big screen. She agreed. No money was ever talked about, no money was ever included.
Okay. Did you take a 32-inch television from your brother's house?
I took it from my son.
But it was your television?
Correct. Billy had owed me money because we were the ones who took him to the hospital and paid for his insulin. We were the ones that always got him to the hospital. Matter of fact, the plaintiff was the one who called us, said, my brother's not feeling well. Can you go over there and check on him and get him to the hospital?
Okay, well, fine.
I have a tape saying that they were going to pay for the TV and that they thought it was too much money, so they decided that they weren't going to pay for it.
Okay, I'd like to hear that tape.
We just got your message. We actually talked about it and decided that we're not going to pay you for the TV because $800 is too much. We told you that we would pay you $5 or $6, I think it was, at the beginning, and you said no, that you wanted $8. And well, you know, we've been friends with Billy forever. We took care of him when he was sick. We did everything for him. You guys weren't there for him. We were there for him. And by the way, we'd rather give Diane and Roger the money for the TV than you, because you're not dealing with any of this fairly. So if you have any questions, just give us a call back. Bye.
Well, that tape clearly indicates that you had an intention to pay for the television.
This is how the conversation took place. She calls us after she gave us the TV. She says, well, you know what, we found somebody that will buy the TV for $1,200. But since you were friends, we'll give it to you for $800. So this shocked us. We're like, wait a minute, I thought it was an even exchange. You know, I thought we were done. So we tried to negotiate with her and say, you know what, $800 is just too much. Plus the TV was only originally worth around $1,300. No, we're not paying $800. So we tried to negotiate and lower the price. How far did the plaintiff go down? $750. Billy's family abandoned him. We were his family. We took him to the hospital. I called his family and told them that Billy's not doing well. He needs somebody to check on him every day. He's not going to make it a month if somebody does not. Okay? So anyways, she goes off to the Caribbean on the cruise. I go to check on him while she's out dancing in the Caribbean to see how he's doing. Okay? He's in a diabetic coma, panting, eyes glazed over.
Just a second.
He's dancing.
How sick was your brother when you left?
He was getting better. I talked to the hospital when he was released. They said he was fine. They sent him home with my other brother. My other brother took him home, and he was doing better. I talked to him that Friday.
Who's this?
This is my sister.
How far did she live from your brother?
Approximately 140 miles.
Who lives closest?
I live right downstairs below him.
When was he released from the hospital?
He was released the prior week, probably around June 20th.
Can I add how he...
No.
Okay.
Now, Miss Allen, what provisions did you make for somebody to check in on your brother every day while you were on vacation?
My brother Roger was supposed to check on him, and he actually said he went up there on July.
Where does your brother Roger live?
He lives in the same apartment building as well.
Okay. So your brother Roger was supposed to check on him every day?
Right.
But clearly did not.
He said he went up there and he thought he heard my brother like shuffle, like make a moaning sound, like go away type thing on probably, it was June 30th. He went up there and my brother was just like making a noise just to like go away. He doesn't want anybody visiting him. So he didn't go any further from that.
Wait a minute, can I add something?
Yeah, sure.
Her brother did go up there only because he called Gaetano to see what Gaetano was up to for the night, and we asked about Billy. We said, have you checked on your brother today? And he said, I haven't been over there in 2 or 3 days. You know, and we both work full time. And I said, well, get over there and check on him. You live right downstairs from him. So Roger hung up the phone with us, went up to Billy's, tapped on the window, heard him breathing, which he was actually already in the coma, calls us back, says, oh, I heard him breathing, he's fine. So we just assumed, well, we'll go check on him in the morning before work. He goes over there on his way to work the next day, finds Billy laying in his bed in a diabetic coma. Of course, he's breathing really deep, and you can hear that, but that's what he did. Nobody had checked on him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your useless brother who went down and checked and said, he sounds like he's breathing, he must be okay, is just that useless.
And later today,
she just gets really drunk and starts freaking out, screaming. It's
just tell me what happened to the door.
She just fell through the door. She just fell through it.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Janice Allen says former friends Allison Cavey and Gaetano Harris owe for the return of her late brother's TV. The couple says they were like family to Janice's brother.
Now, it seems to me, Miss Allen, that the defendants were not related to your brother by blood, but took better care of him than his own family.
I was with my brother almost every day when I was there.
Did you take him to his doctor's appointments?
He didn't have any doctor's appointments.
We took him to some.
She actually called us one time, Your Honor, when Billy wasn't feeling well and said, can you check on Billy? I think he needs to go to the hospital.
No, I didn't ask you to check on him.
You did.
Just a second.
I simply...
So listen to me. Shh. Listen to me. Did you call them and ask them to empty out his apartment?
No, I didn't.
They asked for help.
Did you call and ask for help?
I asked for help for the television. That was it. And they didn't help with anything else.
Listen to me, Miss Allen. It sounds to me as if you're making a lot of excuses for people who were very kind to your brother while he was alive. Your useless brother who went down and checked and said, he sounds like he's breathing, he must be okay, is just that useless. You, within a week of your brother being released from the hospital, took your son on vacation to the Caribbean.
I called them, Your Honor, because...
Just a minute, you called them for what?
Because I could not get my brother down the stairs to take him to the hospital.
So you called to help?
I called for help. Exactly.
Good.
I'm a single
Good.
mom.
So what are you doing here talking about a television that you have no legal... Hey, you have no legal right to sue for this television. And I would strongly suggest to you that since your brother relied on strangers to take care of him and fill in when his blood family could not, you think twice about bothering courts with this kind of lawsuit. Your lawsuit's dismissed, that's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you. This is my best friend.
I was there every day.
I'm going to remember the last birthday I spent with him.
I went and talked to him and everything, every single day.
How he smiled and he had a good time and we sang karaoke. That's what I'm going to remember.
Yeah, this is case number 114 on the calendar, the matter of Swank versus Nagy. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Swank, you have a horse that probably had an accident or had some sort of surgery and only has 3 legs. Tell me how that happened.
She broke her leg, and they tried to fix it twice, and they couldn't repair the break. So I had a choice of either putting her down or having the leg removed, and I chose to have the leg removed.
How did she break the leg?
Just running around in the arena.
You have a picture of this horse?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful horse.
Yes, she is.
How old was she when she broke her leg?
9.
What's the lifespan of a horse?
With an Arabian, it could be 30 years.
How's she doing?
She's doing great.
Good. So about 1.5 years ago, you ordered a prosthetic leg. I assume that prosthetic leg from the defendant for your horse. It was fitted. You had given him a deposit for it. You claimed that it didn't fit the
Correct.
horse. So you returned it to him, only you returned it to him without the foot part. You kept the foot part.
That is correct.
And you had another prosthetic leg made?
I made the
You made
other
it
one.
yourself?
Yes, I did.
Out of what?
I used a cast to put on her leg, and then I used aluminum, you have the picture of it, to go over it, and then I used pipe clamps to hold that to the cast.
You mean in this device worked better than that device?
Yes, it did. I have a videotape that shows her walking with both legs. She's actually running with the leg that I made her, and she could barely walk with the leg that he made her.
Did you tell him about it?
Yes, I did. The problem was the leg didn't fit, and I sent it, the vet sent it back to him to be refitted, and when they sent it back to him to be refitted, he sent it back to the vet and then told the vet not to release it to me till I paid the remainder. We had an agreement that I had 30 days to pay the remainder. Also, we had an agreement that he was going to send me a contract stating that he would refit that leg for the remainder of the horse's life. Only thing he sent
Why did you keep the foot?
I used the foot to put on the bottom of the leg that I made. And
you can't do that.
Well,
you can't do that.
I'm suing him for $1,500. I actually gave him $2,000. I took the $500 out for the foot.
Well, show me where it says $500 was for the foot.
Right here.
That's all I want to take a look at. Mr. Nagy, did she ever sign this contract? I see that here there is an informed consent for use of a prosthetic device. And her copy, although originally signed, she crossed it out, December of 2001. Did she ever sign this document and send it back to you?
No, Your Honor.
Do you have any sort of contract with her at all?
Judge, this was a verbal contract through the hospital, through the surgeon that I was working with at the time. The contract, we have the price for the prosthetic leg. There was to be a $2,000 deposit to build the leg, which is standard in the industry. We ship the leg down for an initial fitting. It's quite common for a prosthetic to take several fittings for a human or a horse.
Right.
The leg was sent back for adjustment, and in 48 hours that it took us to make the adjustment, Ms. Swank removed her horse from the hospital and never left anything but a post office box for a forwarding address.
Why did you do that?
I didn't know they were going to take the leg off, and they made me drive home and get my temporary leg and bring it back so that I could take the horse home.
Well,
the horse had gone home. She was ready to go home the day after she had her amputation.
Why didn't you allow this refitted leg to be refitted and pay him the balance?
Well, for one thing, the vet wouldn't let me have the leg or refit the leg. He wouldn't even try it on until I paid the balance. Mr. Nagy gave me 30 days to pay the balance.
That doesn't say that here.
No, that was our verbal, and that's what I was waiting for. I wanted him to send me a contract.
Did you have a verbal agreement that she didn't have to pay for the leg?
I believe I did say that I would give her 30 days to pay the balance. The problem arose when Ms. Swank removed the horse from the hospital owing a balance for veterinary services.
My veterinary bills were paid, Your Honor. I paid $20,000 in vet bills, and they were paid.
And you say that she had not paid the vet?
No, she hasn't. I have a statement from the veterinarian right here. It's actually just a spreadsheet, but it...
Well, let me take a look at it. It's very easy to call the vet. I have to.
The balance at the bottom is 00. It was written off.
It was a write-off of $997.
Right. I believe that part of the $997 includes $500 for the prosthetic foot.
So that was not paid?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Swank, you owe the vet money. You took your horse out owing the vet money. You have to pay the money. You did not. In any event, you can't get your money back. You made the leg. You took your horse out of the hospital. I mean, what are you supposed to do with this leg?
The horse was released.
You took the horse, it's not released, you took the horse out. What you do is then you get in touch with this gentleman and you say, I want to make arrangements with you to have this leg fitted. And if it didn't fit the first time, it didn't fit the second time, there may come a time when I'm going to send this back and I'm not going to either pay you the rest or I'm going to sue you for it. But you ordered the leg, it was sent back for a refitting. It is not unreasonable that it comes back to you, because that's what happened. It came back to have a refitting. At the time you took the horse home, you took off the foot that he had ordered and you put on your own leg. And then you had nothing else to do with him. That doesn't sound fair to me. He can't use this leg for anybody else.
Your Honor, I tried calling him 4 times and I sent him 2 letters and he refused to call me back. I wanted to work it out. I had no problem paying him. All I wanted from him was a contract stating that he would refit that leg for the entire life of the horse like he promised me. I had no problem paying for the leg.
Nowhere in here does it say that you have a lifetime guarantee of it being refitted, although he may do that. But you had this whole thing.
He gave that to me after I paid him. That was not something that was up front before I ordered the leg. It was after I ordered the leg that he sent that to me. And I asked him numerous times to explain that to me, and he refused to explain it to me.
Then you're supposed to be a more informed consumer, madam. You crossed out the date here, so I have no idea. It just says December
on the top of it, you can
01.
see where it was faxed to me. And I sent him a check on the 4th.
So you sent him a check?
I sent him a check.
You sent him a check, and then you got this. You sent him the check in the mail?
Yeah, FedEx.
When you got this, did you call up and stop payment on the check?
No, I didn't.
Well, if you weren't satisfied with the agreement, why didn't you do that?
Well, I was a little desperate. My horse needed a leg.
That doesn't mean that you can breach this contract, Miss Swank, because you were desperate. That doesn't mean that you can breach
I had no intention of breaching the contract.
But you did. But you did, because if you didn't like the agreement that he faxed to you, don't pay him and say, don't make the leg. You chose not to do that. You said, I'm desperate. I need him to make that leg. So whether I like this agreement or not, because he sent it to you to sign, which you didn't do, and he went ahead and made the leg anyway. Is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And then you stiffed him. He provided a service for you. You didn't like the service. You took part of the property. You used part of the property. You used it in order to create your own leg, and now you want your money back. You're not going to get it.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today,
Your son or daughter-in-law racked up $1,100 sex phone bill. Yes.
I wasn't even aware that it was that expensive or anything like that.
Mr. Morgan.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michelle Swank says orthopedic farrier Brian Nagy owes her a refund for a prosthetic leg for her horse. Michelle says the one she made worked better.
Now, Mr. Nagy, my question to you, sir, is I understand that you have a counterclaim for the balance due on this leg.
Yes, Your Honor.
But for the fact that Ms. Swank had sued you for a return of her money, would you have counterclaimed?
I turned it over to collection agency, which is more my standard operating procedures.
When did you do that?
It was just a few months ago, actually, 4 months ago, something like that.
Well, it's sort of interesting. You don't have a written contract with her, do you?
No, this was all being done on good faith with a verbal contract, and if the leg is paid for, the fitting it's still good. I mean, this leg will be adjusted until it fits her horse perfectly. If it doesn't right now, if she takes it home and it doesn't fit,
She doesn't want it. She's made a makeshift leg using the foot that you provided to her.
Well, that's what I understand.
Mm-hmm. She's not going to pay you the balance, sir.
Well, it doesn't seem like it, Judge.
No. But you certainly don't owe her any money. I think that she had a responsibility, and I think that what happened was she had made a decision to save her horse, which was a wonderful thing. She was in the moment. She was stressed, and she needed it.
What?
And despite the fact that she didn't get something that she wanted 100% in a contract, which was that you were going to take care of this forever, she still let you go ahead with making the leg, which you did, and she took a piece of your work product and she used it to create another device for her horse.
Yes, Your Honor.
She didn't do the right thing, and she's not going to get any money back.
I didn't think so.
Your case is dismissed. I hope you do well with collections.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
What is our excuse? You may step out.
Technology has progressed since this leg was built.
Since this, I have found that the leg is inappropriate for a horse.
It's still perfectly fine for any horse.
I found on the internet another leg that really works well for horses.
When you're building something like a prosthetic leg, I get the whole payment up front.
I guess I'm out of leg.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Monroe versus Monroe. Step forward, please.
29-year-old credit card marketer Stephanie Monroe is suing her ex-husband, Michael Monroe, for the return of promotional T-shirts and a digital camera belonging to her company. Stephanie says after she hired Michael, he quit his job and took the items with him.
Ms. Monroe, the defendant is your former husband, and according to your complaint, after your divorce, he fell behind in his child support payments, so you decided to help him out by getting him a job with your company.
That's correct.
As part of the job, he was given a promotional kit, which included boxes of T-shirts and a camera. The job didn't work out. He was supposed to have returned the promotional items. He didn't do it, and you now are being charged for those items, and it's coming out of your pay. That's what you say.
That is correct.
Okay. When did you get him this job?
I offered him the job in August of 2003. And
what kind of job was it?
It's credit card marketing.
What does that mean?
We go out and market credit cards to students at colleges.
I don't understand how that works. You'll have to explain
Well,
that
we
to
go
me.
out to colleges and universities, and we market credit cards, and they sign up for them, and we get paid.
You get paid by the credit card company?
Yes, we do.
It's a terrible idea. Do you still do that kind of work?
Yes, I do.
It is a terrible idea, you know.
It pays well.
Well, it pays you well. Unfortunately, it gets most of the college kids in a great deal of trouble because they can't afford credit card and they build up debt, and by the time they graduate from college, very often they're in a situation where they owe $10,000 and their credit is shot and will be shot for years to come. So you go out to universities and you're given so much money for every teenager that you get to sign up for a credit card, right?
Well, they're not teenagers. They're over 18, right?
No, 18 and 19 are teenagers.
Sure. Okay, well.
Who are in school, who don't have any source of income other than their parents.
Okay.
Right. Most of them.
Yes.
And school loans.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Good. Terrific. But that's not why we're here. We're here because as part of the whole thing, you give them T-shirts. What do the T-shirts say?
They just have different ones. They'll have college written on them. They're geared just towards what, you know, a college student might find attractive.
It'll say...
Give me an idea.
Okay, well, there'll be like a bottle, like, it'll just say Absolute College. Just...
What else do they say?
They had one of Curious George with a bottle of ether.
Curious
Said
George
too
with a bottle of
curious.
ether?
Yeah.
What
like
is that?
Passed out. My friend doing the ether.
I don't make the T-shirts, Your Honor. I just... I don't.
What else? Curious George passing out, snorting a bottle of ether. What else?
They had one with... They had one with, I guess, from South Park, Kenny. It says, College Killed Kenny. I mean, there were some different various T-shirts. So.
Okay, College Killed Kenny.
Yeah.
College students like that.
And there was a camera that was part of this.
Yes.
What was the camera used for?
The digital camera is to take pictures of their student IDs to verify they are students at the universities.
And you were a rep, I assume.
Right.
You work on commission.
Yes, I'm a manager in the company.
Okay. When did you start working?
I believe it was August 2002.
2003.
2003, I'm sorry.
Did he sign a document that he would return these promotional items?
Well, yes. For the camera, we do have a document.
Okay. So can I see the camera?
It's not the actual contract, but through our parent company, it states that he is liable.
Did he sign that?
There is no signature of his on this. They have the contract. They wrote out a statement saying he did sign a contract.
I never signed a contract.
They wouldn't provide me with the actual contract.
So the answer is you do not have a signed contract with his signature on it indicating he would return the camera.
I do not have that. No.
Okay. Let's not deal with the T-shirts because even according to you, the contract, if you had it, would not talk about the T-shirts.
That's correct. It was pretty much a verbal contract.
Pretty much a verbal contract isn't the contract, Mr. Monroe. So let's deal with the camera.
Okay.
Because Mr. Monroe says his excuse when he left the company, I don't know why, and I don't care, quite frankly. You say that the camera was stolen, so you acknowledge that you were supposed to have returned the camera.
Yes, I do.
So this is an easy case, because I like to keep things easy. Now, what is the cost of the camera?
The cost of the total camera was $485.
You have a receipt for it? Bill for it? Something?
I have this, Your Honor. It states how much it was. And that's from the company that came directly from. That's our parent company. It basically...
Well, this doesn't say anything. This says that the agreement states that Michael will be charged for the full amount of $485 if he fails to return the camera. You don't have the agreement. So this is hearsay. Take it back. What kind of camera was it, Mr. Monroe?
I don't recall the brand name. I think it was like Sony or something. It was
it was a digital camera that took photographs of these ID cards.
Yes.
Okay, so it might have been a good camera. Is that right?
It was used, but yeah.
All right. Now, tell me why you didn't return the camera when you left the company, because you acknowledged that you were supposed to have returned the camera, sir.
Right. I mean, she lives quite a distance from me, and basically I just never got the chance to return the camera, and it was stolen before I got the chance to return it.
Stolen from where?
From my home.
Did you report it to the police? Can I see the police report?
No, I did not.
Full of baloney.
No.
And it's a very stupid thing to have said, because if something is stolen from your home, you mean somebody came into your home and stole just the digital camera?
Your Honor, I live with my brother and
Listen
was one
to
of
me.
his friends.
Someone came into your home and stole just the digital camera? Only that piece?
No, actually, they stole a couple other items, but it's my brother's house, and he refused to press charges because he knew who the person was.
That doesn't mean that you can't press charges, sir.
True.
So I don't believe you.
That's fine.
Good. So then you are responsible for the camera. You didn't take good enough care of it. You didn't put it in a safe enough place. If it was in fact stolen, which I don't believe, but either way, you're responsible for it. Anything else you want to tell me?
Just basically, he was explained that he would be responsible for all the premiums that were fronted to him, plus the camera.
Who explained it to him?
Myself and also my fiancé, Jeremy.
I did as well, Your Honor.
Okay.
And he helped explain the business to him, because he's my manager.
What'd you do with all the T-shirts? How many T-shirts did you have?
I don't know how many were actually left over. When I moved back to St. Louis, I left the T-shirts at my old apartment. Basically, I'd received a letter from the parent company stating that the shirts could not be used shortly after I started using them, about 3 weeks after I started using them. They said that they weren't actually approved to be used. So here I was stuck, you know, they expected me to pay for shirts that I couldn't use.
Why couldn't you use the shirts?
Because the credit card companies decided that they were putting up their own products, and we were no longer allowed to provide our own products for
Provide our own
Okay,
products.
so you weren't allowed to provide T-shirts,
Right, and-
these kinds of T-shirts. What'd you tell him to do with the T-shirts?
Actually, I said to Mike if he couldn't use them, just to ship them back, and he failed to do that.
What did you tell him? Because your eyes, listen to me.
Sorry.
What's your last name?
King.
Mr. King, your eyes faded over here when you
I'm
told
sorry.
me that you told him to just ship them back. Your eyes sort of went like this. You told him to ship them back to whom?
To us.
Your eyes moving? They're moving around again.
I'm sorry. I told him to ship them back to us.
Just go back.
And did you tell him who was going to pay for that?
He would have to pay for that.
Why?
Because it's just how our company works. Is when we request something to be shipped to us, we are liable for that once we receive it.
Okay. So these were unauthorized T-shirts, is that right?
Correct, yeah.
And you're her boss?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're an independent contractor?
Correct.
So how are the T-shirts, I'm just curious, how are the cost of the T-shirts being deducted from your salary? Who's deducting them, him?
Actually, the owner of our company.
Who's the owner?
His name is Mr.
Baloney. I don't want to hear any of this. First of all, the whole business smells. I don't like when you try to put young people in a situation where their futures are placed at risk because of ensuring that they're going to graduate from college with lousy credit.
I understand, but I mean, I'm not asking them to use it and spend lots of money on their card, though.
What you're doing is you're going out and soliciting something. And you're dealing with young, impressionable, stupid kids who are in college, away from home for the first time, and if their parents wanted them to have a credit card, they would have given them a credit card. And if they don't have a credit card, there's a very good reason for it. And they're 18 years old, and they hardly have enough sense to get up in the morning. Many of them don't get up in the morning, but now they have a credit card where they're building up debt, and they have no way of paying it off. Now, having said that, you have to pay her $200 for the camera. I don't know if it was worth $435. I doubt whether it was a new camera that you got, probably a used one from somebody else. But you acknowledge the fact that you were supposed to have returned the camera. I don't believe the fact that it was stolen. I think you're probably still using it, and you're just annoyed at this whole lawsuit. I don't know what you were supposed to do with the T-shirts.
There was
However,
also
the T-shirt,
sunglasses. I'm sorry.
The T-shirts were not provided by the parent company. They were provided by the two of you, so I don't believe that from your salary is being deducted the cost of the T-shirts. Don't believe it.
But he was hired by my company, not our parent company.
What company? You have your own company?
No, I'm sorry. My boss's company. It's not my company.
Get it together. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $200. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out. That's case number 176 on the calendar, the matter of Gifford versus Ward. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Mr. Gifford, the defendant is your daughter.
Correct.
And it is your claim that you made a loan to her. The loan was to pay off certain fines that she had, criminal fines, driving while under the influence of alcohol.
Correct, yes.
And she hasn't paid you back.
No, she has not.
Your daughter says that you volunteered to pay these fines for her, that at the time you paid the fines, you knew she was unable to pay you back, and there was never any agreement to reimburse you for the money that you spent for the fines. And that the real reason that you are here is because of a complaint that she filed against you with Child Protective Services, which resulted in you no longer having visitation with her child.
Correct.
Who is this?
My wife, ex-wife. We're together still.
This is your wife, your ex-wife?
Ex-wife, we're still together, Your Honor.
Still together?
Yes.
Just my own curiosity. Why are you still together if it's your ex-wife?
Oh, her father passed away, and then I was one of the pallbearers, and at that point in time, we...
Sort of got back together again?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been married?
We were married for 7 years.
And how long have you been divorced?
A little over 2, and we've been back together now for another year.
Okay. Good. Who is this?
This is my boyfriend, Henry.
Is Henry the father of your child?
No, he is not.
Before we get into this, tell me about your child. You have one child, a boy?
Yes.
How old is he?
7.
Who does he live with?
With his father.
How long has he lived with his father?
He's lived with his father since October.
His father had full custody?
It's joint custody.
He lives with his father?
Well, yeah, he has full custody of him. But
he has full custody of him? Do you visit with him?
Yes.
Supervised or unsupervised?
Unsupervised.
When were you given unsupervised visitation?
The last court appearance in June.
Prior to June, you had supervised visits?
Correct.
And who supervised the visits?
My father was supervising the visits.
So that your son had visitation with his grandfather and you were permitted to see him at your father's house?
Yes.
Is your problem alcohol, drug addiction, a combination thereof, individual? What's the problem?
Yes, it was a combination of both.
And how long has your son been living full-time with his father?
Since October.
Prior to that, were you living together with his father?
No, we weren't together since I was pregnant. 7 years now we haven't been together.
Prior to October, you had full custody of him?
Yes.
Was he ever in foster care?
No.
Was he ever removed from your home?
No.
Did your father ever have custody of him?
No.
Okay. All right, Mr. Gifford, tell me about this loan.
Okay, this loan was regarding a DUI that she had back in 2000. She had a passenger in the car. She was under the influence of narcotics and alcohol. She hit a tree. CHP was dispatched. She went to jail. She called me up, and I said, best thing for her to do is stay in jail. She'll be arraigned, because I feel that due punishment should be served. Then at that long period of time, she was still involved with methamphetamines. Children were in and out of homes. We were paying
Which children?
That's just...
Both Michael and Brittany.
I thought there was only one.
No.
Where is your daughter?
With me.
How old is Brittany?
4.
And she's always been with you?
I just got her back recently.
From where?
From her grandma, my ex-mother-in-law.
How long had she had custody?
She doesn't have custody.
9 months.
How long had she had custody?
She lived there since October, too.
Through CPS.
No, it was voluntarily.
Okay. So there were these fines dating back to 2002.
Correct.
Go ahead.
When she was going through detox and outreach program.
When was that?
That was in October. She was checked in. She was released to us in basically December, because they did not offer the counseling or some of the amenities that were ordered by the courts. So they released her to myself and Sherry. At that point in time, I got her through counseling through the state where I work. Got her set up so I would be able to take her to and from her toxicology test and provide what she needed through the courts, and also supervise visitations. That way, both the brother and sister were able to see each other at that point in time, because they were separated, and she would be able to spend time with her children.
Okay. I get to the loan.
She approached me in November. She goes, Dad, I have a DUI that I have never paid on since 2000. Could you help me get my driver's license back and get back on my feet? I said, I expect to be paid back. So I went ahead, I paid them off. When I finally came back home, I went ahead and drafted up the exact amount she owed, stuck a payment plan together, and then she refused to pay me.
That's not
Now,
correct.
how much were the fines that you actually paid?
The total amount would be $2,469.
And what happened when you presented her with this loan agreement?
At that point in time, she said, I will pay you back $150. She went ahead and only paid $148 in cash.
When did she pay you the $148 in cash?
March of 2004.
And under what circumstances did she pay the $148 in March?
She came up to me and she says, Dad, I know I owe you the money. I want to pay you the $150. And then I counted out and I said, Katie, this is $148. She goes, I'll try to get the rest of the money to you later when I get paid again.
Okay.
That's
Go ahead, Ms.
correct.
Ward.
He made me make arrangement with the courts to start my DUI so I could start my classes. I told him I do not want him to come because I know he will try to attack me for something in the future. He said, no, I will take you there. We will get this settled so you can have a fresh start on your feet. We didn't speak the whole way there. We were in court. I was standing there talking to the judge, and he asked to stand up himself. The judge asked him who he was. He told him, he said, what is your reasons of being here? And he said, I'm here to pay off her fine. So the judge said, okay, gave us the receipt, went to the window,
Ms.
and
Ward,
paid it.
You had fines, correct?
Yes, correct.
What did you intend to do with the fines?
I was going to have a payment plan.
Good. With whom were you going to have a payment plan?
With the courts.
Over what period of time were you going to pay them?
I was going to pay it every month.
You were already late in paying the fines, right?
3 years.
Yes.
You were already late?
Yes.
So it was your intention to ask the judge to give you an opportunity, rather than sending you to jail, to start paying the fines off on a monthly basis.
Correct.
And what did you think was going to happen to you if, after not paying for 3 years, you made a plan with the judge and you said, don't put me in jail now. I'm going to pay you every month. And what do you think was going to happen if you didn't pay him?
I probably would have had a warrant for my arrest.
You would have gone back to jail.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
you have Henry. And I assume you think Henry is going to be in your life for a while. And I'm suggesting to you, if you take a look over at Henry, in a very short period of time, you'll forget what he looks like.
And later today,
she hung up these shooting targets after Jose was unwelcomed into the house surrounding the living room area where I was sleeping.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kurt Gifford says his daughter, Catherine Ward, owes for an unpaid loan for DUI fines. Kirk says his daughter has problems with drugs and alcohol.
Miss Ward, what I'm asking you is if you intended to pay off your fines, which were your fines, why didn't you pay your father?
Because he told me not to worry about it.
No, that's not what he's saying at all.
Of course that's not what he's saying. He's mad at me for all this other stuff.
You gave him $148 in March of 2004.
Because he was kicking me out and he was mad at me over something, so I got a paycheck and he said, you owe me money. I said, here, take my paycheck.
Miss Ward, what I'm asking you is, why didn't you start giving him back the money immediately, just as you were planning to do to the court? It's your fine, not his.
I agree.
Good. There we go. Now you're getting to be a grown-up. Now, why didn't you pay your father every month because he fronted the money?
Because he asked me to start with a clean start and get up on my feet. He told me to start doing everything right and stay straight.
Well, did you?
Yes, I have been.
Really?
Yes.
Where are you working?
I work at Home Depot.
And are you a full-time employee?
Yes, I am.
How long have you been a full-time employee?
Since March.
Good. And what does your boyfriend do?
He's a construction worker.
And do you live together?
Yes, we do.
So you have plenty of money to pay your fines?
Yes.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Regarding my grandson and my court visitation, basically that's pending due to the fact that I temporarily removed myself, but I'm still a joiner to the case in order for he can seek psychiatric counseling, because there is some trauma due to the fact of what's gone on with Katie, and that's why she brought it up, saying that I was upset because I definitely wanted to make sure both my granddaughter and my grandson do get the psychiatric counseling they do need from over the years of drug abuse.
That's not correct. There's not over years of drug abuse.
Of course it was.
No, there hasn't.
Of course it was. Of course it was. What do you think, it was 2 weeks? I mean, we've been around for a long time.
I understand that, but
we've been around for a long time.
It's
not
like
2
I've
weeks,
been doing
it's not
it for
3
years.
weeks, it's not 4 weeks, it's not 6 months, it's not a year.
It was 6 months of a period.
She was pregnant while she was in rehab, while she was still under the influence of methamphetamine.
Listen, Miss Ward.
That's not correct.
Listen, Miss Ward, I'm glad that you seem to have gotten yourself back.
Thank you.
On track. That's wonderful. And you have a job. You've had a job for a while. The boyfriend. You have children?
No.
Why did you have to think about that?
I have children, but they're not with me.
That's not what I asked you, sir. Over there. Your name?
My name's Henry. Henry Twilling.
Mr. Twilling, when I ask you if you have children, the answer is, I have children.
Yes.
How many children do you have?
I have 4.
Where do they live?
They live in South Dakota with their maternal relatives.
Where's their mother?
I haven't seen her for many years.
Why don't they live with you?
I'm just getting back on my feet.
From what?
Long period of drug use.
He has a parole officer. He was convicted and incarcerated in the penitentiary.
For?
For drugs.
And where did the two of you meet?
We met at a meeting.
Shh. Mr. Gifford, you understand that the Supreme Court recently issued a ruling that I don't agree with, not surprisingly. And that ruling said that grandparents have no right to visit with their grandchildren.
You're right.
You're aware of that?
Yes, ma'am.
I think that that ruling was short-sighted because I think that sometimes you have to look on a case-by-case basis. And when you've had a grandparent that, and I don't know if that's true in your case, but when you have a grandparent who has been, let us say, a primary caretaker of children, it's unfair for a biological parent to say, well, I'm not going to let him see him anymore because I don't get along with him. Because very often you have parents like this whose primary thought is not the overall best interests of their children, because everything is apparent. Dogs have parents, cats have parents, fish have parents, ants have parents. Just because you're a parent doesn't necessarily mean you're a good parent or a caring parent. All I can tell you is this, Miss Ward. Do your two children have the same father?
No, they don't.
And this man isn't the father of either of your two children?
No.
And I assume that when you had a baby with your son's father, you intended for him to be in your life for a while. And I assume that when you had a child with your daughter's father, that you intended for him to be in your life for a while. And now you have Henry. And I assume you think Henry is going to be in your life for a while. And I'm suggesting to you, if you take a look over at Henry, in a very short period of time, you'll forget what he looks like. Now, I'm telling you that you have a responsibility to see to it that your two children have whatever constants in their life as possible. And if one of those constants in their lives have been their grandfather, you're not supposed to allow immature judgments to impede that and to impair that if it's not in your children's best interest. Do I make myself clear? Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,321. Thank you. That's
अस्सलाम वालेकुम जी, कैसे हैं आप? जैसे कि आपको मालूम है कि मेरा नाम महद है और हमने अपना चैनल शुरू किया है कंप्यूटर शॉप के नेम से, तो उम्मीद करता हूँ आप सब खैरियत से होंगे। और ये कि हमने अपना चैनल इसलिए शुरू किया है कि ताकि आपकी बेहतर रहनुमाई हो सके। कोई भी मसला हो आपका कंप्यूटर के रिलेटेड, लैपटॉप के रिलेटेड, कोई डाटा रिकवरी हो, कोई इंस्टॉलेशन से रिलेटेड, कोई भी इशू हो, आप डायरेक्ट मुझे मैसेज कर सकते हैं। नंबर मेरा बायोस में अवेलेबल है। आपको कोई भी ट्रबल शूट आ रही हो हार्डवेयर से रिलेटेड, सॉफ्टवेयर से रिलेटेड, तो आप मुझे कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं। नंबर मेरा बायो में है। और ये कि हम आपको न्यू फीचर्स अपलोड करते रहेंगे वीडियोस से रिलेटेड, ताकि आपकी बेहतर रहनुमाई हो सके, ठीक है। और ये कि आप मेरी वीडियो लाइक करें, कमेंट करें, सब्सक्राइब करें, ताकि आपको मेरी लेटेस्ट वीडियोस जो हैं वो आपको मिलती रहें, ठीक है। तो बाकी उम्मीद करता हूँ कि आपको हमारे चैनल से बहुत फ़ायदा होगा और जुड़े रहिए हमारे साथ। इंशाल्लाह कोई भी आपको मसला मसाइल हो, परेशानी हो, आप मुझे डीएम कर सकते हैं। हमारे लिंक पे सोसाइटी में सब कुछ में आपको अवेलेबल है कांटेक्ट में, ठीक है, ताकि हमारी टीम जो है वो आपसे रब्ता करती रहेगी। आप अपना नंबर कमेंट्स में भी मुझे भेज सकते हैं, ताकि कोई भी साथ आपका मसला जो है वो उसकी शॉर्ट वीडियो मुझे व्हाट्सएप कर दें, ताकि मैं वीडियो देख के आपका उसका सलूशन बता सकूं, ठीक है। कोई भी इशू हो सकता है आपके सिस्टम के साथ, आपके लैपटॉप के साथ, तो इंशाल्लाह पूरी कोशिश है कि आपकी बेहतर रहनुमाई हो सके और बर वक्त आपका काम हो जाए। तो कोशिश तो यही है कि, और ये चैनल बनाने का मकसद ही यही है कि ताकि हमारा भी काम चलता रहे और आप लोगों का भी काम चलता रहे, ठीक है। तो उम्मीद करता हूँ आपको फ़ायदा होगा और आपका बेहतर रिस्पांस मुझे मिलेगा। थैंक यू। अल्लाह हाफिज़।